Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 Just black and white. Black and white, just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh. 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 Just black and white. Black and white.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the finale of the LMP2 Apex Technologies Championship. My name is Daniel Handover, and joining me in the commentary box for the final time this season is Mr. Ed May. Ed, how are you doing this fine evening?
Wonderfully, Dan. Thanks for introducing me, and let's look forward to what is hopefully going to be a great round. We've got plenty of excitement on the cards, not the least as well. In the AM Championship, 5 drivers all within contention for the championship in what is the final round. Spa Francorchamps is a great circuit to round out the season, isn't it, Dan?
Absolutely. I think we can. No one can deny the history that Spa has. No one could also deny just everything about it. Spa is such a unique track, and it's such a special track as well. I think that's what people love about it. It's got everything you could possibly ask for, and a little bit more as well. With the elevation, the elevation change of this being of particular note. But everyone knows Spa, it needs no introduction. But as you say, what does indeed need an introduction into this final round is that AM Championship battle. I was actually having a look and actually talking with Jacob Money, who is actually one of the contenders for the championship. And he is understandably nervous, as you would probably imagine. But at the same time, though, obviously he's confident. He's got some good pace under his belt. He knows what he's doing. But to be fair, though, it's all to play for.
Absolutely, it is. I think there's only a few points that separate first from second, isn't there? Jacob Money on 153, Roy Mars on 146, and then James Ebram just behind is only 10 points away from our AM class leader. We've seen bigger swings than that so far this evening. Just have a look. James Ebram got a 17-point swing in his favour previously compared to Jacob Money. That was at Road Atlanta. So it just shows that we can see big swings in this championship at any rounds. And if it happens at this late stage, that is going to have major complications. So Jacob Money, he knows what he has to do. He needs to finish, but most importantly, he needs to finish well. I think a top 3 will put him in the best contention to take home the AM Championship.
I think, it's absolutely, it's one of the things you've got to really consider. You've always got to consider that anything can happen. That almost adds to the pressure a little bit, but it also grounds you as well. I think that's the main thing, is you've got to be grounded in what goes on and what you're doing. Okay, that's the thing. It's if you start to get a little bit too, I'm trying to think the best way to put it, but if you start getting a little bit too maybe complacent, I don't think that's necessarily the right word, but you've always got to be on your toes, especially with a field this close and a field this large as well. There's a lot of cars out on track this evening, so you have to be. You do have to be careful. A bit of housekeeping before we do get ahead. So green, gentle muffin we got there as well. We got Psycho Tech. We've got Ty. We've got Peter. We've Peter Claywitter. Sims at Esports. We've got Ivo as well. So hello, Ivo. He'll be racing today. We've got Richard C. I'm guessing that really Richard Cleaver. So good afternoon, or good evening, I should say, Richard. Saying go on, Jacob. And good luck, Ivo, as well. So just that shot there. We just saw just going the one of the Positively Racing cars. But yeah, people are now out on track. I'm actually intrigued to see how long we've got left of this practice session, because this is the build-up, isn't it? It's the build-up to the final qualifying session of this season. And I mean, what a season it's been. Now, I came in having jumped in with one of the rounds. I believe, actually, do you know what, Ed? I can't remember which round I actually jumped in on. If I'm perfectly honest, it feels like it's been quite a while ago. The time's absolutely flown by. But all the racing that I've seen, I think it potentially was Road Atlanta, or it may have been the round after. But I mean, last round of qualifying, it's all to play for. I mean, we genuinely don't know, and I haven't got a clue. I don't know about yourself, but.
I mean, yeah, you bang on the money there. It was Road Atlanta where you made your, I guess, debut on the LMP2 Apex Technologies Championship. And as we can see, some of the drivers out on circuit. Now we can have a little bit of a look, can't we, at this Spa Francorchamps circuit, just going through the latter half of the lap now. And this is going to be a circuit that I'm sure will provide excellent racing. It's a wide track, isn't it, Spa? You can usually fit a couple of cars too wide at most areas on the track, and then of course into the bus stop chicane. That is where we can see or expect to see quite a few maneuvers being made, isn't it? Because you've got the long run out of sort of Paul Frere corner all the way through Blanchimont into the chicane, and then also we have La Source coming up. That could throw up a few exciting moments, especially in the early stages of the race. And don't forget as well, we are using the World Endurance Championship pits, the WEC pits. So as you can see, going up through Eau Rouge and Radion, the drivers making their way through the pit exit on the right-hand side here. So that means that we're going to be expecting drivers to take a longer pit stops. And as a result, if you can fuel save that bit extra time, you'll have less time in the pit lane. And that saves you so much time, doesn't it, Dan?
Oh, massively. I think it falls into the similar sort of trap. Well, not necessarily the similar sort of trap, but it falls into the similar trap of like Le Mans, like saving fuel is, and I know, and everyone that watches and has been watching this season is sitting there, and I can tell now going, oh, here we goes again. He talks about fuel, but it is so key. You always want to try and save as much fuel as you possibly can. I'm sure Ed as well. You're sitting there going, come on, Dan.
No, I'm in massive agree, even more so than usual because of the length of this pit lane. You come into the pit lane, at the bus stop chicane, and you only exit it down the Kemmel Straight. So that's so much time you're on the pit limiter. It's 60 kilometers an hour limit, I believe, here at Spa. And that's shed loads of time, isn't it? You want to try and avoid that extra stop if you can, because that's going to cost you absolute heaps of time.
Oh, it is indeed. Yes, absolutely. We've actually just ticked over to qualifying. So, yes, here we go. This qualifying is now just about to get underway. A 15-minute qualifying session, but I believe it is 2 laps these drivers are allowed, and that is it. 2 or 3 laps these drivers are allowed, and they've got 15 minutes to do so. At most tracks, it wouldn't be necessarily too much of a problem, but in this instance, obviously with Spa, you've got to be a little bit more cautious of that. A little bit more in the chat as well. So we've got this is Bugs42. That's Robin Bales, one of the supporters and one of the teammates of Jacob Money and Positively Racing, saying, "Don't bin it, Jacob." Wise words there. Wise words of wisdom there for Robin. And we've just been told as well. I do apologise. You are absolutely correct. We need to do some refresh on the. We need to do some refresh on the trading page. So bear with us while we get that sorted. Do apologise, everyone. They will be here in a few moments' time. Well, that is then refresh. We're going to get those liveries to you. Don't worry. Like I said, we just need to do a couple of bits and pieces in the background. But Ed, I suppose we've both driven this track probably quite considerably, I'm sure. What are for people, again, who haven't necessarily driven Spa in Sim or haven't driven it in iRacing, what are the sort of quirks to... I can almost guarantee what you're going to tell about this. What is the... what's the guarantee, or what do you know of a quirk that is with Spa in iRacing? Because I have a feeling what you're going to say, but I'll let you say it.
Off tracks.
There you go.
You can get them so easily, can't you? Here, they're so easy to pick up at this track because... just the nature of the circuit, you've got so many corners where you feel like you can extend on the exit just that little bit, really maximize the speed you take through the corner by running those extra few sort of inches or maybe even an extra foot or so off of the circuit to try and gain that extra bit of time. But you can't really do it here at Spa that you could on other circuits on the iRacing service. And that's one that you're really going to expect a few drivers to foul off, although the instant limit is increased for this round, I believe. So the drivers have got some form of reprieve, some form of small comfort from the stewards being a bit more lenient this round on track limit because, well, everyone knows just how tricky this circuit is on the track limit side of things. But another thing to factor in is, of course, the difference you can do in the setup. The drivers can take very different approaches. They can either take sort of low drag, low downforce setups to really maximize the speed down coming out of La Source all the way through Kemmel Straight, but then losing a little bit of time on the mid-section, then gaining it all back coming out of Paul Frere all the way down through Blanchimont into the chicane. Or you could try a slightly different approach, a bit more of a... approach with a bit higher downforce and really be absolutely monstrous in the middle sector, gain all of your time there and take the sacrifices on the straights. And I'm not sure what you'd be thinking of at this stage, Dan, but I'd probably be going more for the straight line performance, because not only will that sort of balance out a little bit in the lap time, but it'll make you a car that's a lot harder to pass, and also potentially mean that you've got less drag. You're going to be saving a bit more fuel.
Yes, I think to be fair, I would absolutely go. I would absolutely go with saying that you need to make sure that straight line speed, like the Camel Straight, it doesn't look that long. But the problem is you're carrying so much momentum, you're carrying so much speed through Eau Rouge and Radion that it really, surprisingly, because you are just you're just carrying so much speed up through Eau Rouge and Radion, and it is then causing to gain a surprising amount of tow. These cars, they do have downforce, obviously, naturally, they're very, very quick cars. They still haven't got necessarily the pace of what you would have with a proper open wheel car through the corners. So, you can sacrifice a bit of that drag. They've still got a good amount of lateral grip through the tyre. They've still got a amount of good mechanical grip through the tyres. So you can really lean on those a little bit. So yeah, I'd always go with lower drag, always go with lower downforce at someone like Spa, because you never know when you are going to need it, especially coming through. If you've got no one ahead of you and you've got to try and defend from someone, you need all the extra little bit of speed you can get. Just have a look through the chat as well. I do apologise, everyone. We seem to have updated training paints. Everything seems to be all okay. Everything seems to be working well. I've just been Psychotech saying, there we go. So brilliant. Hopefully everything has all been sorted. I do apologise about that. Times are on the board, though. Iabola Laval, he is from High Caliber Autosports. He's just put in a 2:01.55. And obviously very, very close already with Timo Hayden. As I said, that Molnar Peter decides that he wants to prove me wrong and goes 100th quicker. Now, on a 2:01 lap, Spa is not a short track. To be 100th apart, again, I know we've kept saying this and we will continue to say this. Oh my goodness, how close qualifying is going to be. And we've still got 10 minutes for qualifying left for people to set their lap times.
Absolutely very thin margins, isn't there, as we see Molnar Peter take provisional pole position, but he did make a slight mistake there going through La Source, just getting a slight slide on. So this lap, I wouldn't expect to see an improvement from Molnar Peter there. Meanwhile, we're following Kamal Hashimi, who's currently on provisional pole in the AM class. Kamal Hashimi is seemingly very quick at the moment, both faster than Will Money and Roy Mars, who I believe are both in with a contention for the AM Championship fight. You're going to see what Kamal Hashimi can muster up here for his second flying lap. Comes across the line. Not an improvement, unfortunately, for Kamal. I don't know if he's going to be able to get another lap out on the board, so that could be his qualifying done and dusted. Meanwhile, here is the man of the moment, isn't it? The provisional AM leader, Jacob Money. What can the Positively Racing driver manage here as he comes through the Fania chicane? Very nice over the curbs there, utilising all of the track, but not too much to worry about. The off tracks again here, running a little bit wide. I think he's just gotten away with it there. You can, some corners you can get away with it, others you really can't. Jacob Money, though, is this going to be a quick lap time from him? He's setting personal bests so far, but is it enough for an absolute best in the AM class?
Well, to be fair, not too long. He goes to Blanchimont for what's going to be his first proper lap. Smashes it down the gearbox into first gear. Gets the first part right. Slight bump over the curb. That's okay. Can he get a good exit? I think he can. Absolutely on the button. What is it going to be for Jacob Money? Is it going to match something? No, it is not. It is. Put Jacob Money in 5th place. Now, he's about 9/10 off. But bear in mind, though, it does take a little bit of time for these tyres to get up to temperature. So that was his first lap. He's got one more left to go. So that P6 that he's got at this moment in time, I'm sure there's going to be something as well. Look at absolutely flat going through Eau Rouge and Radion. Wow, that is quick. And that's one thing actually drivers, they're actually taking this into consideration. Drivers are going to have to be careful of this because if you're behind someone, whatever aero that you did have, you will lose. Going through Eau Rouge and Radion, you've got to be very, very careful. And not only that, you're carrying more speed through as well. So, yeah, a lot of things to consider with these guys. Bit of sideways moment there for Jacob Money. Ever so slightly. He's got to be careful. Not too bad, though. You can have a little bit of slip in these cars and you can still maintain composure. You can still maintain a good lap. That was a little bit more of a slide over again. He doesn't want to do this. He's just overheating these tyres a little bit. That might be very, very close indeed, though. It's all of these little things where naturally you would look at something and go, oh, that's not a lap or that's not an off-track or something. Spa definitely is. Whatever you think wouldn't be an off-track, I'd almost 99% guarantee you that it would be. Okay. But
absolutely.
Actually, his brother, look at Will Money. Sorry, just there. Look at Will Money, his brother, P2 at this moment in time in the AM class.
Yeah, this is looking very good for the two monies, aren't they? But how close is this fight at the top of the field
I know.
in pro? You can see 3,000ths of a second separating first from second, and there's just 1,000 between second and third. Alexander Walton and Molnar Peter, ever so close indeed. We were talking about, the margins are so close for Spa, which is an ever such a long lap time. Well, have a look at this. Really close. We're talking thousandths of a second margin. Look at that. Molnar Peter, he takes pole position provisionally at this stage. But also, I want to have a look at what Daniel Kraft is able to pull off, because look, he's setting purple sectors. I don't know if they're valid purple sectors, but this could be very good, and it is very good. Look at that. Daniel Kraft comes across the line to take provisional pole. And I think he's still got a couple more laps in his locker. Yeah, that was his, I believe, first flying lap.
That's impressive.
Daniel Kraft now, this is looking very good, isn't it, for the Pure Sims driver here. Meanwhile, though, Jacob Money, what can the Positively Racing driver do? We've just seen him. He's already been across the line, actually, just earlier on. No improvements as of yet. So I think this is the final time for Jacob Money to try and get an improvement here.
Well, I think, to be fair, looking at this, looking at the pace, we're going to have to look at the, just keeping an eye out for the sectors here as they're going through. So, yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? I mean, it's a 2-hour race. Like, it's not all about qualifying. It is a big slide there for Jacob. He doesn't want that. He wants to try and keep the car. Another big slide there. So he's just getting a bit too much heat into the tyres. He needs to sort of, especially if he tries to do that in the race, if he continues to do it in the race, that will snowball quite quickly. So you've got to make sure he takes it nice and controlled, nice and easy. It's a long way to go, though. And to be fair, sometimes, actually in the position that he's in sort of P5, I mean, he's got an opportunity to save some fuel. People like Kamal Hashimi, they don't have that opportunity because they're at the front of the field. So, it's one of the things that even with this sort of qualifying, even if he stays where he is and Jacob stays with it, that's definitely going to be it. That is his race. That is his qualifying done and dusted. Unfortunately, that was an off track there. So, yes, at the moment, provisionally, a couple more people. Actually, no, there's no one behind Jacob Money left to qualify. So I believe that is him going to be in P5. But there is some time left to be had.
But the main thing is to look at where Jacob Money is, isn't he? In relation to the likes of Roy Mars, James Ebram, and Justin Young. And he's just ahead, isn't he, of Justin Young, who is currently 4th in the championship fight. However, likes of James Ebram, who's 3rd in this fight, only 10 points behind Jacob Money in the standings at the current moment in time. He's currently 2nd in the AM class. So, well, Jacob Money's going to need to have his work cut out for him at this stage to figure out what he can manage for his championship campaign. Jose Buisan, look at that, really sending it into the bus stop, taking a lot of speed into it. Does he get a good amount of pace out of it, though, to improve on 9th? No, he doesn't. So that's Jose Buisan's qualifying over with as well. And you can see Alvaro Melendez now in 10th. Is he going to make an improvement? He does improve on his time, but not his position. I think he's 3/10 away from his Iridium Motorsport teammate of Jose Buisan. So again, everywhere we're looking, margins are ever so close, and that bodes really well, doesn't it, for an exciting race. I think we've just got one more driver out on circuit. Don't even know if they're setting qualifying times or using it as practice. So instead, we can begin to look forward. And yeah, that's Tronso Oval not seemingly going full throttle as he's being a bit more conservative. We're going to be looking forward then to what is hopefully going to be a great conclusion to this Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship. Ever such a close qualifying session, and that always bodes well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just looking through the timings here. Like, it's so close. Like, the entire pro field is separated by just over 1.2 seconds. The entire AM field is separated by just a couple of seconds as well. Like, it's so close. And the thing is, Spa is such an unforgiving track when it does come to off tracks that, you really do have that ability, you do have the option to, I think, playing it safe and playing it within that 95% rule, that 90% rule, that pays dividends. It's really one of those things where if you do get too many off tracks, you then start to worry about off track, you start to worry about penalties and so on. It can really, again, that can snowball quite quickly. And then you end up driving, you end up trying to drive too conservatively, but that ends up making you slower. And there's so many things that can happen. You've just got to be really quite controlled and quite careful. I know we keep talking about it, and we will be discussing, obviously, throughout the session and throughout this race. But yeah, Jacob Money, like P5, no, it's not the best qualifying, but he knows what he needs to do. He's not too far off. He just needs to make sure he keeps his composure, saves the fuel, tries to spend as little time in the pits as he possibly can, and then he will move up the order. It's one of those things. You do have to be careful, but Zvanto Oval does indeed go through, and that is qualifying done and dusted. We've got no other cars currently out on track, so I believe we're just waiting for the timer to tick down, and then we will be getting underway for the finale of the LMP2 Apex Technologies Championship. I cannot wait. It's going to be, I can imagine, Ed, it's going to be a very, very quick 2 hours, because I know that all the other seasons, all the other championship rounds, they've been very, very fast as well. Some is like, something like the finale tends to normally fly by.
Absolutely, it really will. But this entire championship has flown by, hasn't it? I'm going to be sad to see it finish, but hopefully we'll be back for the next season if there is one, because this has been, well, an absolutely amazing championship to follow, to be a part of. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully what the next one will bring. But we are now into the final stages before the race gets underway. So, Dan, talk us through the starting order for the finale of this Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship.
Indeed. So we do have Daniel Kraft taking the Pure Sims Esports car to pole position. Molnar Peter in P2. Burkhard Mehring in P3 with Alexander Walton in P4. Ibola Laval in P5 with Timo Hayden in P6. Ramez Azam in 7th with Bart Hornston in P8. Jose Buisan in 9th with Alvaro Melendez, rounding out to your top 10. Ivor Labsha in P11. Juanto Oval in P12 with Roberte Edouard in P13. Rodrigo, that is Lazowski. I don't recognise that name that we have seen before, but Robert is in P14. And then moving further down the grid here. We do have a little bit of a warm-up though, so we do have some time to run through these. But we're just going to bring up your remaining terms. No, we're not actually, because that is, I believe, the entire grid. So that was, yes, Rodrigo Lazowski with no time set. And then going through into your amateur categories as they are brought up on your screen now. Just 2 seconds, we will get that over to you. But yeah, Kamil Hashimi, he actually qualified a couple of positions ahead of some of the some of the pro drivers as well. So Kamil Hashimi, he's got some really, really quick pace in that car, which is, it's really, really good to see. Like, again, it's good to see. We've seen it before, haven't we, Ed? While we just get these qualifying results up for the AM category. We've seen it before, haven't we, where we've seen the pro categories battle with the AM categories, which I know that there's nothing of benefit for either of them. But it's nice to see that we've got some drivers there who are able to, seeing drivers mingle within the two classes.
Yeah, definitely. Kamil Hashimi has been showing a brilliant turn of pace in recent weeks, as we do see the grid up on our screens now. You can see him currently on provisional pole position, 3.5 tenths quicker than the next best man, James Ebram, who is looking very good, isn't he, for charge in this championship. Third at the moment, but with a performance like that, he could be on track to take this championship. Meanwhile, though, Will Money will line up behind him on the, well, not even on the second row of the grid, is he, because of the rows being moved about, but what would be the second row of the grid is Will Money, ahead of Alvaro Montez, and then Jacob Money, the man who's got it all to do. He's the one that everyone's trying to beat this evening to take the lead in the AM standings. Justin Young right behind him as well, a contender for the championship. So as well, Roy Mars with Andy Spicer, EJ Fjellner, Chris Pio, and Mark Winters rounding out the field. Mark Winters there, not setting a valid lap time. But it's easy to do, isn't it, at the Spa with the off tracks. So now as we come into the later stages of warm-up, before we see the cars lining up on the grid, we're really setting up for a cracker of a race, isn't it? Jacob Money not quite getting qualifying he was hoping for, especially considering he is provisional AM championship leader. Well, he's going to have a lot on his plate when he gets this race underway.
They wanted to, apologies everyone, my mic for some reason wasn't actually going through on the stream, but that's all been fixed now. You should all be able to hear me, so apologise about that. Actually, yeah, but one of these, we're just going through, and yeah, I was just saying there that these drivers are really pushing heavy, as we've got, that was James Ebram there, that had a bit of a moment going through the bus stop chicane. They're absolutely trying to use every ounce of time that they can, every second, to try and experiment and try and do new things and to try and gain an advantage on their competitors, which again, I think, Ed, it just proves that strength of field.
Yeah, it really does. Not the least, the margins in qualifying show the strength and the competitiveness that this championship has been providing us all season long. And we're going to hopefully see one final time for a really exciting conclusion to this championship. Meanwhile, the cars, though, they're lining up on the grid, getting ready, getting themselves prepared for the task at hand, the final round of this Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship at Spa Francorchamps. It's just moments away from its start.
It is indeed not too long to go. There's a couple of minutes while we wait for all drivers to get on the grid, and then we will indeed be underway. 2 hours is the race length. That's a long time for the drivers. That's not going to be a long time for us. I can absolutely assure you these 120 minutes are going to absolutely fly by. We can see on the top of the screen the starting lights are primed and ready to go. So when they flash up red, we will be underway. The Porsche car leads. The Porsche safety car leads the train off. Daniel Kraft currently in second, although we should be seeing, I believe, actually, correct if I'm wrong, Daniel Kraft should have been in pole position. Great camera angle there as well. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing that as it goes forward. Yeah, Daniel Kraft, sorry, is in first position. Yeah, I'm going to love to see that camera angle through Blanchimont. That's a cracking camera angle. Cannot wait to see what happens there. But here we go. Bus stop for the first time, even though it's not at race pace. Who's going to go? Pace car is in. Here we go for the Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship. Who is going to get the jump? Who is going to be the person that's going to come out on top, coming out of turn one? The lights still haven't gone on yet. Everyone's primed. Everyone's ready to go. When are the lights going to go out? They still haven't got out quite just yet, but I think it's not too far away.
I think it's coming out of La Source when the race gets underway with the
with the endurance pit. You are absolutely correct. So I'm getting myself worked up here. So we've got, to be fair, not too long now, and then we're going to be going, oh my goodness, there's already a spin. Who was that? Looks like one of the Pure Sims esports cars. But the lights have just gone green. We are now underway. Someone's got a couple of good jumps. Just saw, that looked like 3 cars. You're not going to fit into one space. There's 4 wide going to go through down up into Eau Rouge. There's 2 wide everywhere going through Eau Rouge and up to Radion. As long as these guys can get away clean. No, they cannot, because that was some big incidents in the back. We're going to have some replays there. But meanwhile, look at that. Molnar Peter and Daniel Kraft are going to go side by side going down into Lacombe for the first time. And it is going to be Daniel Kraft that comes out on top at this particular moment. So he takes an early lead. Lost it for a fraction of a second from Molnar Peter. And now he continues on his merry way. A little bit further down, though, this is between Burkhard Mehring and that is Bart Horston behind him as well. They're going to go side by side down into Rivage and then down through the dreaded No Name. Got to be careful. I heard a small accident back there. Heard some contact, so hopefully that's not too serious. But Burkhard Mehring does indeed keep Bart Horston behind him for this moment in time. I mean, Ed, we saw action even before the race had kicked off.
I know, it's mad, isn't it? It's been a really sort of frantic first few minutes, hasn't it? It's kicked off, like you mentioned, even before the race properly got underway. I think Timo Hayden got spun around coming out of La Source. I don't know if he was helped or if it was just took a little bit too much wheel spin and then got helped after the fact. It's been really quite dramatic at this early stage of the race, and I can tell you, someone who's gained a lot in all this panic and pandemonium has been Jacob Money. He's currently up in second place in the AM category, which is currently, as it stands, enough for him to secure his AM championship, because the driver in front, Kamal Hashimi, isn't in contention for the championship fight. Looking very good, isn't it, for the Positively Racing driver of Jacob Money, even more so by the fact that he has a rear gunner in Will Money.
Well, exactly, yeah, the Positively Racing brothers currently racing, and they are indeed second and third. That was, I believe, Kamal Hashmi. He's gone a little bit, he went just a fraction wide then, going out of the source. So that has now really caught up. Look at the gap already between these two. So potentially we're potentially going to see this really start to kick off. Although Jacob, he just needs to try and keep back. Is he going to try and move? He's going to try and do it, though. So what is going to happen? You've got three Positively Racing cars going through. You've got Ivo Laubscher at the front of this Positively Racing train. But look at that. Jacob Money not hanging about at all. And he is just storming ahead, and he now takes the lead. Obviously, we've got a lot of replays to look at, so we're hopefully going to see what actually happened at the start. But yeah, Jacob Money taking an early lead in this race for the AM category.
Yeah, definitely. This is looking very good, isn't it, for Jacob Money? His qualifying wasn't quite up to his usual standard, but we do know just how strong he can manage a race. It seems to be the part where he comes alive, isn't it? I remember seeing him at Sebring, and also actually I tuned into Le Mans, and those were both races where he took victories. So he's having a really good turn of form in these final 3 rounds of the championship, and it seems to be going Jacob Money's way for now. But we do know how fast things can change in this championship. He needs to be sure not to have any mistakes from this point on, because they can cost him so much, especially at this late stage where you can't really claw things back.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at this replay here and what actually happened. Because, I mean, to be fair, looking at that, it was Jose Buisan that got involved. And, oh, I mean, an absolute passenger, I think, at that point. It's 3 cars do not go into one space. It's one of the only problems with actually starting later down the hill, going into a route, is everyone's a bit closer. It's amazing even just how going through La Source can sort of spread cars out a little bit. And just, yeah, because at one point we were 4 wide going through down the hill into a rouge. Now, that is, that's tricky to say the least at the best of times. Not when the race has just started. EJ Fuelner, he's had a moment. So at this point here, it was just avoiding action here. Great evasive action. Unfortunately, he doesn't actually, he doesn't really gain out of it though. So all the, he had to back off, because I think that could have been Jose Buisan or one of the other, one of his teammates that he actually got held up by. So a bit of a shame there. Couldn't quite capitalise on what happened. And then we've got a couple of more. Ramez Azam, he's had a moment as well. So this was coming through into, I thought I saw this. What a save. Oh, I mean, I can't say commentator's curse because that was a part of a replay. But yeah, it looked like he just saved it. The car gripped up. Oh, no, it's just gone from bad to worse there. Who was involved in that? Could that have been potentially Mark Winters? Possibly, that got involved in that. Let's have a quick look here. I think it was indeed. Yeah, Mark Winters just really had nowhere to go at this point. And oh, that's a hefty shunt. Those 3 cars are definitely have seen better days.
Of Mark Winters, wasn't it? I'm not sure who that was, but it was very dramatic, wasn't it? It was. They both tried to.
It was EJ.
I think EJ Fuelner. So let's have a look. He tries to get out of the way. He thinks, oh dear. You can see that the attitude of the Subaru Esports car is to sort of dart across, but then he catches it again. But EJ Fuel has already committed to try to go down the inside to avoid where he felt that the LMP2 in front was going to go. But it was just a slight misjudgment. He had a 50-50 chance of getting it right. And unfortunately, both himself and all cars involved didn't quite luck out that time around. Meanwhile, look at this. Round the outside, Juanso Valley has having to defend from Timo Hayden, who's on a charge after the beginning to his race, not quite going the way he planned, to arrest through Blanchimont and then into the bus stop. And that is where eventually the move is made.
Who was that?
Timo Hayden. And I think that's Will Money. Is that Will Money?
That was indeed Will Money, yes. Sorry to get all excited there, Ed.
No worries, mate. That was very exciting indeed. For a moment, we thought that could have been Jacob Money who was involved in that. But that means now that Jacob, he doesn't have his rear gunner because Will Money, we're going to see what happened here. Does he just take too much speed in, loops it? Yep, that's an unfortunate little spin for Will Money. And he's going to have to rejoin the track a little bit further behind, losing out on quite a lot of places. But crucially for the championship, I think James Ebram, he's in the pits.
James Ebram is in the pits. I'm not 100% sure why. Potentially, could it be? Well, yeah, that's definitely seen. His car's not moving at all, is it? I wonder, could he have potentially actually not changed his pit stop, and he was still on qualifying fuel? We've seen that a couple of times. I've done that more times than I care to mention. So I wonder if that potentially is something. But at the moment, James Ebram, his car is not moving at all, is it? So I wonder what's happened there. Hopefully, we're going to see him back out on track in a few moments' time. But going through, we've got a lot of battles going on. I wouldn't say that the battles are really. They're brewing at the moment. Obviously, we've had that initial sort of craze, obviously, where everyone's just at the start, and now it starts to tail off a little bit. It now just starts to tail off, and it just starts to get to the stage where everyone's now trying to find their feet at this point. Everyone's just trying to see what works and see what doesn't. Kamal Hashimi, we just got an instant replay here. This was going through into La Source, but a few moments ago. Oh, looks like you just see the rear rotate. And we're going to see this quite a lot. So we're going to be looking at these replays when we see people going off track. It tends to be something like this. It's just a small off track and there's nothing major. So, yes, we just got Iridium Motorsport saying, hey, can we have a link to the live timings, please? You can, absolutely. We will just get that for you now, and I will be posting that in the chat. Someone else just got a little bit wide there. Who was that? Going to go side by side. This is actually Bart Halston, but that was with actually Kamal Hashimi. So Bart Halston making his way through. These are Pro and Am categories. So these guys they're not battling for position or anything. These guys are just going forward as they are. But Jacob Money has actually overtaken his teammate his teammate in the Pro category, Ivo Laubscher. So, I mean, Jacob Money is just on an absolute stormer at this moment in time. He is not hanging about for absolutely anyone. Look at the top three, though. Top three have just decided that they want to disappear away a little bit from Burkhard Mehring, Alexander Walton's teammate. But interestingly enough, Ed, let's have a look. There's not too much racing actually going on, is there? They're just all sitting behind each other, which is exactly what we were talking about earlier on.
They're saving fuel. I can guarantee you the likes of Molnar, Peter and Alexander Walton, they are keeping their eyes firmly locked to their fuel gauges, making sure that they're saving time, looking at their predicted laps, seeing if they can extend their stint by an extra lap or so to really increase their margins. They want to be on track to... we should be expecting the cars to pit in around about the half-hour mark. That's when we usually see drivers make their way into the pits, if memory serves, right from last time out, Dan. And if they can manage that, that means they're avoiding, of course, the long time spent in the pits, because any drivers that are expected to take an extra pit stop, that will cost them somewhere in the region to potentially 1.5 minutes, such as the length of pit lane here at Spa Francorchamps. And this is the fight we saw between Kamal Hashimi and Bart Halston. But Bart Halston ended up winning out in that fight. Kamal Hashimi didn't really feel like it was necessary to fight that hard with the pro class drivers. Look at this up in front. It's difficult to predict really who's going to be coming out on top, because there's several cars you can see all within the picture. What is this, though, in the background? We can see some stuff going on with the AM drivers. Kamal Hashimi and Jacob Money having a bit of a swap around, and I'm not sure what's been going on. Have both of them seemingly got slowdowns?
I think they have.
What have they both done to unslowdowns? And actually, is that a bit of damage on the rear end of I'm not sure. Is that damage on the rear end of Jacob Money? I'm not sure.
It could very well be, but we're going to have a bit of a replay here. So this is on board with Kamal Hashimi. I wonder what happens here. He just wasn't actually... Oh!
Whoa, dear.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, to be fair, looking at it, he manages to save... Oh, I mean, I don't know. We're going to have to look at that again, aren't we, from a different camera angle? Because that was... I mean, do you know what? I'm not actually 100% sure. It was just a bit of contact. So Kamal Hashimi going around the outside of one of the positive racing cars. That was the 99. Was that Ivo? Was that Ivo Laubscher that he was going past?
Might have been, yeah, but
Yes,
I'm
it
not
was.
sure. Oh, my word.
Wow.
That was heart and mouth stuff, though, wasn't it,
Oh.
from Jacob Money? He saw that coming and quickly darted out of the way to keep it nice and safe. I don't know what Kamal Hashimi was really doing, trying to send it around the outside at Blanchard. He got a good run, but you don't look to the outside when you get a good run. You try and look to the inside. There's not going to be room on the outside whatsoever. Look, he tries to make room, but there's no room there at all. You can already see the car is off on the right-hand side of the circuit before he moves to try and overtake off of the circuit. It's not like he was forced there. He got the good run himself. He'd have just lifted a little bit and then darted to the inside. He still would have got the run to then try and pass around the outside, then get the inside later through the bus stop. It was a little bit too aggressive at this early stage of the race for me from Kamal Hashimi, but tell you what, if this is how he wants to keep racing, then that's going to provide us with great entertainment, isn't it? And see what he can do. Pull off a pass on Jacob Money as they're going to make their way through Blanchard very shortly, while the front runners in this field continue to sort of keep as they are.
Indeed, yeah. Just touching on that as well. I mean, absolutely, you can indeed race as aggressively as that, but it tends to not really be. It doesn't really work into the self-preservation side of things. So, yeah, I'm hoping we're going to see. A little bit. Some more racing of that, obviously, but maybe not in that necessarily stage of the race. I mean, that could have been, and that would have been a race-ending crash for Jacob Money. Maybe not necessarily a race-ending crash, but that would have put him completely out of contention. So, I think Jacob Money there has just had the reaction. Right, okay, interesting enough. Look at Molnar Peter. You heard how early he lifted. He had the toe all the way down to Kemmel Straight. I can't even imagine he was on full throttle for that moment. So that just gives you our confirmation that these guys are absolutely saving fuel. Daniel Craft, though, obviously is not. So I would probably put money, unless Daniel Craft is really having to save and he is saving a lot of fuel. I still think Molnar Peter, come first round of pit stops, if these guys are where they are. Actually, in saying that, Burkhard Mehring, let's just actually look at the train here. All of a sudden, this has just become a 5-car battle. Well, not a 5-car battle, but a 5-car train with the leading car. I don't think we've actually seen that this season. I don't think I've seen it this season at this moment going forward. But yeah, I mean, 30 minutes in the race, and we've got this 5-car train with Daniel Craft leading it at the moment. So, yeah, I think Jacob Money, that just touching back on that, had the reactions of a water boatman. I think that's probably nothing else could have really been described by that, to be honest. That was... I don't think that's a save that... How we saw it coming, I don't know.
I've never heard in all my time commentating someone liken another driver to a water boatman. I mean, I love it. It's great.
They're quite quick to react, I'm sure.
They are very quick to react, but I don't think I've ever heard of that comparison before. But it's very apt, isn't it? He was absolutely on the money. He was really aware of everything that was going on. And, well... was able to keep his car nice and safe and clean, which is what he needs to do at this stage of the race. Meanwhile, Kamal Hashimi dropping further back through the order. What has happened?
He's crashed. Instant replay here.
Oh, my word.
Oh, Kamal Hashimi. I think he just rotates round.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
Oh.
And well, to be fair, he just manages with a small tis but a scratch, as they would say. But yeah, that has unfortunately cost him about 6 or 7 places.
There's a lot of damage there on the right-hand side, and he's crabbing. Oh, no.
Oh,
He's
okay.
got suspension damage. So I thought it was just a little bit of damage, but look at that. The car is not comfortable whatsoever. He's going to have to nurse this all the way back to the pits. The rear right-hand side of the suspension arm just... I think it's been broken or something. I don't know what's happened exactly there, but... it's not looking pretty, is it? Meanwhile, this is between Will Money and scary stuff. Will Murray, and I think that might have been Andy Spicer looking to try and go with it. And then what on earth is going on with the 153? That's Mike Winters going off onto the grass. So it's all kicking off here with this little am fight. This is a very tasty battle.
It is.
Indeed, completely different to the pros we're seeing at the front. These ams in this bit of the field. Oh my word, what are they doing?
Well, I'm just trying to think. This is the replay. I don't really know what.
Oh my word!
It's basically this.
He does the pass.
He does indeed. To be fair, this has now been the last. This is just going to be an entire commentary of us just making squeaky noises, isn't it? Because we're going to be sitting there. Yeah, so this is a bit of a four-way trade. Let's see how this does develop. It is indeed a four-way trade. So you've got. Let's go back to the live action here, as we can see. So look at that. You've got Mark Winters leading, Justin Young in. So Mark Winters P4, Justin Young in P5. You've then got Andy Spicer 6th, and then Will Money in 7th. And these guys are battling absolutely nip and tuck, are these guys. And this is just going to get ever closer. Mark Winters, though, is the person that's losing out at the moment. He's losing out the most because, again, he's got no one ahead of him. So, yeah, whoever's behind, this is what I've always said as well, I'd always like to be the person, especially with these big tracks like this. Someone like Brands Hatch, Silverstone, I suppose, to a certain extent, doesn't make too much of a difference. But the layout of this track, the layout of someone like Le Mans, I never, ever want to be at the front of a train, ever. You always want to be second. It doesn't necessarily make sense when you look at it on a piece of paper, like, you know, as the statistics come. But then when you actually think about it, why would you ever want to be in a position, apart from the finish line, where would you ever want to be first in a train, especially somewhere where you can save so much fuel?
Yeah, exactly. And that's at this stage in the race, you'd really want to be where the likes of Kraft, Molnar, Peter, and Barco are, aren't you? In this little bit of a train up in front, just saving fuel, managing the race. But in this AM fight, they've kind of got quite a lot to play for, really, with Jacob Money up in front. They're going to be trying to get themselves in the best position to capitalise. If our AM Championship leader makes a mistake, they want to be in the best shot to take maximum advantage, maximum points, and the best chance of winning this AM Championship. Will Money, though, he's going to do all he can, I'm sure, to help his teammate take this championship. And I think the best way he can do that is get stuck in with this fight, not give them any respite, not give them any chance to work together and catch up to his positively racing teammate, and instead start to sow the seeds of squabbles in amongst that pack.
Well, I think that's not going to be too far away, so we are going to have to keep an eye out on this battle. Meanwhile, look, Alexander Walton, he's pulled out a little bit of a gap here that I've noticed, and I wonder if that's actually going to, increase. We're going to have to see how that goes forward. But actually, do you know what? We've got a couple of replays. So it was Alexander Walton past Molnar Peter, so. Not entirely sure. And he also passed Daniel Kraft as well. So let's have a look at this here. This is the replay of the overtake. Again, look at the toe that he's got. So he decides that he wants to be a part of it. So Molnar Peter's actually at this point backing off. He's saving the fuel. Alexander Walton just goes, no thanks, I don't want to be a part of that. And then off he goes into the distance. Again, at this stage of the race, I'm not 100% sure that that was the correct move. And I could very well be wrong. And I'm hoping that Alexander Walton proves me wrong. But again, I just think he's now not in a position where he's able to save any fuel. And if we look here, the gap was 0.6 of a second. Look at that, now going down into Lacombe. It's now 0.2 of a second, Ed.
Maybe he's confident enough that he's already saved the fuel early on and is trying to have the track position when they come into the pits, because that does have a pronounced effect on where you come out. If you've got track position going into the pits and you're the first of this long train of cars making their way through the pit lane, it does sort of help you out a little bit. You can push really hard up to the pit limit and not worry about potentially having cars up in front of you that you need to slow down more for. You can just take your own speed into the pit lane, and that does give you a little bit of time to work with. Meanwhile, this is Will Money being passed, I believe, by Justin Young. Is this? This is going into... No, this is actually Andy Spicer. My apologies. Will Money getting through this time on Andy, and then trying to keep up in touch with the cars in front. But he has actually lost a little bit of time following that maneuver. And, well, he's going to try and close all of that time back up. Meanwhile, though, back to the front of the field, the long train of LMP2 snakes its way through Blanchimont now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars all in shot, all within a fight for the race victory at this early stage. But how long will this continue? I definitely expect to see the likes of Walton, Kraft, and Molnar definitely within the fight. And, well, Barco Maring isn't too far out of that equation either, is he?
No, no. This is the thing. You've got a you've got this five car train, and that's going to quickly extend. Like I said, it's amazing how actually you've got Ayabola Laval. Obviously, there he is just coming through. Cameron just did a bit of a 360. Then that's probably hurt his neck. But yeah, Ayabola Laval, he's now on the back of this train. He's about 7/10 behind, but he has got the tow. That's the most important thing. Like, he does have the tow that's going to be pulling him along. So he needs to try and, again, really get the hammer down and try and just catch up to this pack, which he has done indeed. He's just pulled another 10th out of these guys ahead of him. So that's pretty much done and dusted. He now needs to, again, sit behind, save the fuel. Alvaro Melendez as well, looking forward. He's actually, because he's not in the tow now, he's actually dropping back a little bit. But, with a bit of battling that these guys are going to have, you're going to see the top 6, maybe even the top 7 in this sort of lead car train. And the only reason that we haven't got any more is because Timo Hayden is actually behind Bart Hornston, but by about 5 seconds. And that's the biggest gap that we actually have in the pro categories within the top 10. So it goes to show how close these guys are, and also how respectful they're being, how calculated they're being. We keep talking about this, but they know what they need to do. And they're all sitting there, all running their own race. They've probably got a couple of different strategies on the go. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how this develops, especially after the first round of pit stops. Who is going to be the first person to jump down? Could it be, as you were saying, Ed, track position, Alexander Walton from Simza Esports? Is he going to make the jump first? Who knows? And I think if he does pit, then there's going to have to be some other people pitting as well, because they're going to have to try and keep on that sort of strategy that Alexander Walton is. Interesting enough, though, I've just seen Alvaro Melendez has just let his teammate Bart Hornston go through. Could it potentially be maybe Bart Hornston's going to try and see if he's got a bit more pace and try and catch up to the back of this pack?
I think what they might be doing is trading draft. We're going to see if that is the case. If the likes of Alvaro Melendez then passes by as they make their way up through Rouge Radio and then down the Kemmel Straight. Just trying to work together, trading draft to close in to the fight in front and make it, well, from a 5-way fight for the lead up to a 7-way fight. And that'll be certainly something, if we see it happen. Let's just follow Alvaro Melendez now as we see LMP2 scream on by. No, I don't think that's actually a trading draft. So instead, we might be seeing, like you mentioned, a bit of a tactical change for position. See what Bart Hornston can do now with clear air, if he can catch up to this train and add a little bit extra to this fight. He does seem to be showing good pace currently. So who knows, maybe in a little while we might expect to see Bart Hornston closing on in and allowing us to see even more cars fighting for the potential race victory. Meanwhile, with Jacob Money, he's leading this category, but the margins have been closing slowly but surely. Alvaro Montes closing the gap, setting marginally quicker times. Last time by, it was 0.3 of a second differential between Alvaro and Jacob Money. So Alvaro, he is closing in. He's got to wonder, though, is he using a lot of his fuel? Is he using a lot of his tyres to do so? Is Jacob Money just managing the race now that he's got some pro drivers up in front of him?
Yeah, well, he's got Svanto Val and Ivor Laubscher behind in front of him. This could potentially be something he's doing, again, just trying to save some fuel. He's just running his own race at the moment, trying to conserve tyres, absolutely. But also as well, like, we could actually potentially be seeing it almost hindering him to a certain extent. Like a bit of dirty air, that's not going to help the tyres at all either. So a bit of a trade-off on what you want to do. Do you want to save your fuel or save your tyres? Sims Esports, is there a live timing, please? There is a live timing indeed. Apologies, I'm just going to put that back in the chat. I did post it in the chat just now, but there we are for you just there. So that is the live timing for you there. Mr. Simza Esports. Jacob Money, as you say, just running his own race. A bit further, I'm interested to see, this is between Justin Young and Mark Winters, who is currently just going through La Source. Oh, that's actually a little bit wide there for Mark Winters, so that's not going to help the situation. So I wonder if we're going to see now, the gap is 0.5 of a second. We're actually going to see also as well, potentially, this is a bit of a battle going on here between Ivor Laubscher and this is Ranto Oval. Move is done and dusted even before we get to Lacombe. So that is the move done and Although I looked a little bit there, so that was Oval just went a little bit wide on the exit. Hasn't really made too much of a difference, and they all resume, and that fight continues on at this moment. But yes, Ivo losing, unfortunately, a position. I'm looking, and do you know what, Ed? That's just come to me. So Bart Hornston from Iridium Motorsports has caught up to the back of Ibola Laval. So look at that here. This battle, we've got Alvaro Melendez, his teammate from Iridium Motorsports. So exactly what initially said that they were going to do. And Bart Hornston, look at that. He's pulled up to the back of Ibola. And this is now a 7-way train for the lead. Or you've got all of the drivers, the top 7, within the space of 3 seconds. Now, that's not a lot at all.
Really isn't, no. This is excellent stuff that we're being treated to do. This is why we love this championship. Why we love broadcasting it here on Sim Racers World TV. Seeing 7 cars all within contention for the race lead at this stage in the race, with almost half an hour gone in a 2-hour-long race. So what, long may it continue, because this is looking very tasty indeed. We're expecting to see some of the drivers make their pit stop either this lap or the next. Having a look at the current time, we're about 27 minutes into the race, so let's see a few drivers getting ready to think about making their way into the pit lane and wondering what they're going to do in terms of strategy. Don't forget, the tyres do get worn quite a bit here at Spa, as we see Ramez Azam. I think he's unfortunately calling it a day.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal for Ramez Azam. But hopefully we're going to see him back on track. So, but yeah, a couple of people that have pitted. So we've got Roy Mass. He's pitted. One of the championship contenders in the AM category. Mark Winters has also pitted. Chris Pio has pitted. Kamal Hashimi obviously has still hasn't actually come back out on track. So I wonder if his car is a bit is done and dusted. Unfortunately, again, really, really big shame. Sometimes, even though these cars are quite sturdy and they can be repaired, sometimes, though, it's just a little bit too far gone. It is just a little bit too far gone with this with these cars. So there is a point of no return. And unfortunately, I think Kamal Hashmi has met that here. But I'm just staggered that there's still this train all the way from the leader, which is Alexander Walton, all the way down to P7. And it's quite staggering. And like I said, we're 28 minutes into a 2-hour race. You know, we're a quarter of the way there, and there's been not really too much in terms of adjustment. I think we're gonna see this quite a lot, and we're gonna see this for the remainder. Obviously, pit stops, they're gonna have a bit of an account in laps and out laps and all that sort of stuff. But here we go. Actually, look at it. People are now coming in the pits. Ibola Laval, Bart Hornston, and Alvaro Melendez all in the pits. Though I don't think that's actually what they. I don't think, to be fair, that's probably what Bart Hornston and Alvaro Melendez wanted, because Ibola Laval could have potentially held them up on to pit lane. But we're going to have to see. So they are the people that have jumped the gun first. But Walton, Kraft, Peter, Mehring, and Hayden are all still out on track for presumably another lap. So they're going to get past, we have spoken about this before, Ed, have we not? The crucial half-hour mark.
Yeah, definitely. And this is it. This is where the squabbles start to happen. This is when the fights for track position kick off, as they get ready to come into the pits. And it is Daniel Kraft making his way, is he going through the end of the come straight into Lake Com. Daniel Kraft now the race leader. We were thinking, oh, he was leading for so long at the early phase that he'd be struggling to save fuel, but he seemingly managed it very well, potentially saving a little bit of fuel on this infield section. You can save quite a lot into corners such as here, going through Huon now, or Double Gauche, as the Belgians call it. Corners have got several names here. I don't understand this track, honestly, sometimes with the corner names. Like, yeah, going through the Fania chicane, you think it's called Fania, or Piff Paff. So many different names, so many different corners here at Spa. But we're going to see Daniel Kraft. Look at that. He's pulling a gap, isn't he? He's decided to jump the gun and try and clear a margin down the road for... You'll expect to see him coming into the pits, this time by a brilliant charge so far from the Pure Sims esports driver.
Absolutely, yes, indeed. He has just dropped the hammer down. He's pulled, what, 0.6 or 0.8 of a second out in from going through Lecom, going through into down to the bus stop. So are they going to be pitting this time out, or this time, this lap, I should say? Is Daniel Croft? Yes, he is. Who else is coming in the pit? Walton, Peter, Mehring, and Hayden is going to be in the pits as well. No. Interestingly, oh no, Hayden is in the pits actually, as I'm going to just correct myself there. So again, it's just one big log LMP2 car, isn't it? That's actually quite funny to watch. So at the moment, there is nothing, quite literally nothing, separating these drivers. Although it is going to feel like an absolute eternity down this pit lane, isn't it?
Yeah, look at them all. They're just it's about as close as they were when they were actually racing out on track, weren't they? It's just a little bit slower. It's like the same intensity, isn't it? They're so close together. They all slipstreaming just about 60 kilometers an hour instead of about 250 or whatever speeds they were traveling earlier. It's great to see him. Now we're going to have to keep our eyes firmly peeled for this fight, isn't it? Bart Horston, seeing what he can manage. I've got Laval as well. Also is in the in with a shout of a potential race victory as the cars now stop in their pit stalls, taking on board the fuel as well. Horston and Ivola Laval make their way across the line, going through La Source. It's going to be really key, isn't it, to keep your eyes on Weber, Horston, and Ivola Laval will be expected to come out. Daniel Craft now up and moving, so is Molnar Peter, so is Alexander Walton. Daniel Craft now on the picks. I think we can just see him going up the hill. He's cleared a very big margin, hasn't he, Daniel Craft, to his competitors? Must have been able to save quite a lot of fuel in that pit stop phase.
Absolutely massive amount of fuel saving there. 100% absolutely needed. Here we go. Bart Horston's going to try and make a move on Ibola Laval. The move is actually done and dusted before potentially Lecom. Is it going to be? Yes, it is indeed. Slipstream, draft, whatever you want to call it. But that was textbook overtake. Did what you need to do. Got the run out of Eau Rouge and Radion. And now, that move is done and dusted.
I've had a little bit of a look at the intervals. And the margins, while they've been increased, they've not been increased to the point where they're out of draft. So we're going to expect to see these gaps that we can see at the moment. They're all still there or thereabouts within a fight. Well, I'd expect in the next, say, couple of laps, those gaps to get shrunk down thanks to the slipstream. And all of a sudden, the fights are really going to start hotting up once more. So Daniel Crafty's not been able to get such a big enough jump that he's completely safe from the likes of Molnar, Peter, Walton, Mehring, Horston, Lavelle, and Melendez. So every one of these drivers that we saw earlier in the fight could still be within a shot. Maybe not Alvaro Montes, though, as we see him have a little bit of a spin. That is, of course, the driver in the AM category having a bit of a moment. This is Roy Mars now looking down the inside of Alvaro Montes and taking the position rather handily into Lecom. Andy Spicer, a replay of what happens here. Is this into Lecom as well? Yes, this is ahead of Justin Young. So seeing plenty of action in the AM category. Drivers chopping and changing positions, trying to work out where they're all sorting each other out after their pit stop phases. Look at that car though, Rymas CCTS Esports. I love the livery on that car.
Yeah, it's a good livery. Like I said, I love the inspiration that these guys have, and I mean, actually, it gives just inspiration for just almost anything. It's not just like liveries, but anything like other design work and anything. It's just what some people are able to do, especially with these new spec maps. I mean, the sky is the limit, as they say. We've got a replay here though of Ibola Laval. It says he's gone off track, but I'm just wondering again, is it one of those off tracks that is just going to be a small little off track? Is it going to be? I'm guessing it will be. Whoa! Well, I don't know who that was, but that was very, very close indeed. Wow, who on earth was that? I don't know, but they've got some suspension damage by the looks. And for the life of me, I'm not 100% sure who that was. I can't quite see the number.
That might be EJ Fuellner, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might have been the 113. That is indeed, yeah, that was EJ. He just snags the rear brakes, doesn't he? Rear locking, snaps the car, and I think that was the reason why we saw the driver there just extend the track a little bit. I don't think he was too confident in exactly what was going on. He had a bit of contact on the inside, didn't quite know where EJ Fuellner was, instead took the smarter position. Oh my word! Does he say? Wow.
Oh,
Oh, I was about to say that was a brilliant save, but unfortunately just clatters the wall a little bit. I think he gets away with it though. It is a softer tyre barrier there. Wow, that was a very intense moment there from EJ Fielder though.
it was, wasn't it? I think, to be fair, like, you could see obviously the damage that he had, and then trying to go through Eau Rouge and Radion almost at the same pace that you would do at full chat. Unfortunately, not going to end well. Unfortunately, as we can say, it did not. Looking a little bit further up the field, as you say, those gaps have extended a little bit, and they don't seem to really coming down as much as I think we first thought. Obviously, so the battle between Ibola Laval and Bart Hornston is definitely raging on. But then you've got Daniel Kraft. Molnar Peter, though, has really caught up, so that gap is right down. It's half a second. And then a little bit of gap between Peter and Walton. And similarly, another gap between Walton and Mering. So anything could change as well. You've got some traffic as well. That could also play a factor into it. So there's lots of things that can still happen at this late stage of the race. And to be fair, again, from what we've had in the rounds, we simply cannot tell what's going to happen. But yeah, everything's spread out against the calm before the storm. But yeah, one of the closest battles is indeed Alvaro Melendez and Timo Hayden. That's one of the 3 or 4 battles that is still sort of like just sizzling at the moment, I think is the best way to put it, Ed.
Yeah, exactly. I think my favourite term is that it's simmering away. It's not quite gone to a boil just yet. It's just in the background, cooking up, getting a nice little bit of a brew, and adding a few more spices into the mix, and then come the end, we'll be in for a very tasty battle indeed. But like you mentioned, it's all about the drivers just hitting their marks, making sure they're keeping it nice and safe, not wanting to take any unnecessary risks, of course, because if you do that at this early point, you do run the risk of putting yourself out of contention for the big points, for the good results towards the end. It's better to be nice and conservative early on and then do what we've seen other drivers do in the past. Go for broke right at the death. We'll look at what Alvaro Melendez can do. He's closing in on the car in front of Timo Hayden, who's admittedly, Timo Hayden not had the best start to the race, but has been trying to carry himself back up through the order. And this is Molnar Peter. Was that just an off track that we saw there? Running a little bit wide, but you are allowed to get away with a little bit here as long as you're not, taking the Mickey too much. The stewards won't mind you doing that. They have given drivers extra off tracks to compensate for this Spa Francorchamps circuit, and it's the same for everyone. So drivers can't complain too much about the harshness of the iRacing track limits. Meanwhile, here we can see Molnar Peter now closing in, getting very close, isn't he? Look at the top speed differential with the slipstream as they go into Les Combes. Going through Melmedy now. Molnar Peter, he is a man on a mission, but is he a man that wants to take pole or take the leading position in this fight? If I was him, I'd just be happy to stay behind, save that fuel, and then do what we saw Daniel Kraft do towards the end of this the end of his first stint, which was go for broke, take the position, and then try and clear the margin. It almost worked, didn't it, for Daniel Kraft? It didn't quite have the ability to pull off that margin. Instead, the slipstreamers really allowed Molnar Peter to eat into his margin and bring it back to well under a second.
Yes, and as you say, it's not going to be until we're going to have probably another 20 minutes or so before the next round of pit stops, so we're going to see how these different fuel-saving strategies, or these different strategies in general, do play into account. And the gap, it's hovering around half a second. Molnar Peter doesn't need to do any more than that at the moment. If he can get closer, obviously he'd like to. You can see again the speed difference. He is catching up. The gap's gone from about 0.4 of a second to 0.2 of a second. So at this point now, he just needs to sit behind, save fuel, and potentially jump Daniel Kraft in the pits. Ibola Laval, let's have a look at him. So again, similarly, just needs to save some fuel behind Bart Hornston for the Iridium Motorsport car, and just run his own race at this moment in time. And just sort of, again, there's the time for racing will be in the last half hour. Once the last pit stops have happened, that's the time for racing, and that is the time to really start pushing and to try and get those extra tenths, maybe to take a little bit more liberties, a little bit more risks. You know, that's where we really want to. That's where drivers are going to want to try and put the hammer down. But further in the AM category, actually, we've just seen what happened there. Is it going to be potentially? Look at that, Molnar Peter. He's not hanging about. Let's actually go through, and we're going to see this. Whoa, big sideways moment there for Molnar Peter. I wonder if Daniel Craft had a slowdown, because there's no way he would have given up that position that easily. And I reckon that was a slowdown.
It might have been a slowdown picked up, yeah, like going through Eau Rouge Radion. But Molnar Peter,
save.
very, very loose indeed. Yeah, brilliant save going through the end of Lake Com into Melmedy. That was really intense stuff. We'll see Daniel Craft. This is a replay of him earlier. I believe this could just be him picking up an off-track, potentially. I'm not sure what was.
Not too sure what that was.
That
there,
iRacing probably throwing a bit of a wobbling, panicking, screaming, "Oh my God, he's crashed! He's had a massive incident." It turns out he just dipped like a wheel onto the grass for a little bit of time and kicked up a bit of dirt. And iRacing acted like the world was ending. But unfortunately, not unfortunately. Fortunately, that was not the case. The world has kept on turning, and Daniel Craft is still in the fight for the lead of the race. Meanwhile, Alberto Laval now behind Bart Horston. Bart Horston, who's been showing very good pace at this particular phase in this race. I know what he can manage. What he can manage is to close right up to no, not Bart Horston. Sorry, Alberto Laval can manage to close right up into the slipstream, but then losing out a little bit as they make their way coming out of the chicane. You can see on the right hand side of the screen the ambient air temperature and the track temp. It's a 36-degree track, 21 degrees ambient air. Quite warm indeed, and that is going to be having an effect on the tyres. I'm not sure if these drivers will be able to make these last until the end. So it's all about when do you take the tyres. If I was these drivers, I'd do it right on the hour mark if I was going to, just to sort of even the load across both stints.
Indeed, I think, to be fair, just brushing over, moving on, I think Mark Winters may need some new set of race rules, because that you could see at the exact moment when the panic set in. When the wheels completely locked up. So let's just have a look at this again. So braking a little bit too late, and at this point here, panic. And I've been in that position, and it is just eventually you get to the stage where you're like, no, can't stop, and you just push the brake naturally. You just try and lean into the brakes more. Exactly the opposite of what you want to do, but at that point your brain just seems to forget about driving, and you just tend to panic. So I actually want to see, let's just have a look at that on board, because I want to see how close that was. I know that was very, very... Oof. I mean, that probably is about as close as you could ever be to without any contact. So fair play, to be fair, for Mark Winters for avoiding it. That was indeed a contact that could have easily happened, but luckily it did not. Looking forward. This actually turned three-way battle now is this battle of a P5. You've got Paul Hornston, Ibola Laval, and then Timo Hayden. He's pulled up a little bit of time. Currently half a second behind Ibola Laval. So he's pulled up that little bit of time. See how that develops as we move forward. Daniel Craft, though, he was about a second behind a couple of laps ago. He's now brought that gap down to 0.4 of a second. So Daniel Craft's not hanging about. But again, I wonder what we're going to see. Are we going to see straight away a change for the lead? Or are we going to see him potentially, again, save a little bit more fuel? Probably halfway through their second round of pit stops at the moment. Actually, as well, with the AM category, we haven't looked at the AM category for a while. So one of the closer battles is between... I wouldn't say not battle at the moment, but again, it's just something to be conscious of, something to be aware of, is Roy Mass and Alvaro Montez. We know Alvaro does have some good amount of pace, and we have seen him naturally being around about there or thereabouts in terms of pace between himself and Roy Mass. It's very, very close. It's actually really close between the top five. So that's Money, Mass, Montez, Winters, and Money. And their last laps were all within about 0.3 of one another. So it goes to show, again, the AM category is so very close.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Roy Mars, Alvaro Montez Mark Winters and Will Money, all in contention for, well, second place in class. Maybe not first because, well, Jacob Money's putting an absolute clinic, isn't he, in the AM category. 8 seconds clear of his nearest competitor. Actually, no, not 8 seconds. The time of screen says 16 seconds, which is massive if that is the case. We're going to be able to see if it is. Where is Roy Mars out of circuit as Jacob
It is 8 seconds.
It's 8 seconds. Wow. Very good job by Jacob Money, isn't it, at this early stage of the race, of that margin, have that amount of time to work with. He just seems so good at managing the races. He doesn't quite have the speed over one lap in qualifying, but when it comes down to the races where the points are actually scored, he's seemingly untouchable.
Well, I think this is one thing that I've noticed as well. I've seen Jacob Money again. I've known him for a long time, and I've seen him really start to develop as a driver. And it's great to see him sort of like get to the stage of being able to manage races and really get comfortable in these sort of positions. And yeah, he's a man who's definitely his I rating definitely does not reflect his pace that he has in a car. And which we see for lots of drivers as well. Like there's lots of drivers in this field that are so very, very fast. They don't necessarily reflect their I rating that they've got. Look at that. Daniel Kraft actually switching back to the leaders. Daniel Kraft has taken and has retaken the lead from Molnar Peter. Again, let's have a look at the instant replay here. Obviously, this is going to be pretty much self-explanatory. You can almost guarantee what is going to happen in the slipstream, out of slipstream, pulls back in, job done. So, again, there was nothing really nothing to say about that. We just caught the end of it, but wanted to make sure that we watched the full extent of that overtake. And Daniel Kraft has already pulled out about half a second. But again, role reversal now. Completely, the tables have turned, and now Molnar Peter is now the person that's going to be saving fuel. So we're going to see a bit of yo-yoing between these two, I'm sure, as the next second round of pit stops, or the second phase of this race continues for these drivers. Although, as I say that, Daniel Kraft, though, he's pulled out another 10th or so. So he seems to be trying to get the hammer down as much as he can. But then, unless he pulls out about a second and a half within the space of a third of a lap, he's not going to really be in a position to actually pull away and break the toe.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, some drivers say it's easier to lead than follow. Others say it's easier to follow than lead. I have the mindset of it's easier to do whatever the opposite of what I'm doing is. So if I'm leading, I'll say, oh, it's obviously easier for the car behind to follow me. And if I'm following, then I'll say, oh, it's easier for the car in front, he's leading. So I'm sure that that's probably what's going through these drivers' head. They're probably quite content with being first and second at this point in the race. Meanwhile, though, Alexander Walton, he's closing in on the fight up in front, making it a three-way potential tussle for the lead. In the background, look at this, Bart Horston. We're looking back from as we see Abel Laval and Timo Hayden all in the battle for fifth position. Timo Hayden, I will have to say, has done a very good job to recover from his first lap spin, where we saw him go all the way from, I think, sixth place down to stone dead last. And he's done a good charge up to the field to get back up to the position where I think he certainly expects to be. He's got a little bit of work to do, though, doesn't he? He's got to pass the likes of Ibo Lavelle and Bart Horston, both of which are very accomplished drivers that are notoriously quite tricky to overtake. Gotta keep an eye on this because it's shaping up to be a great fight, as of course last time by Daniel Kraft. With the aid of slipstream from Molnar Peter going down the Camel Straight has set the fastest lap of the race so far, a 2:02.00. Daniel Kraft getting a few extra points his way if he can hold on to the fastest lap, get himself an extra few bonus points. And even though the Pro Championship is sort of, I guess, done and dusted with Maxime Brient taking honours in that, it's still good to finish up the season nicely and get yourself the most amount of points you can.
Yeah, exactly. It's always nice, isn't it? It's always nice to take home, like any additional points, and it gives you a bit of a boost, doesn't it? Again, essentially got the pace, and obviously we know that Daniel Kraft has definitely got the pace. So, yeah, it's something I don't think you can ever, as a driver, whether real world or sim world, you can never just sort of. I don't think you ever just sort of back off. Really, you always want to do the best that you can, even when even when you've cleaned up the title and the title is yours, you always still want to do well. And similarly as well, even if you know the title has already been taken, you still want to perform and you still want to do your absolute best. I think that's almost a given. Whoa, big moment there. Wow, that was Timo Hayden that had a massive moment going through. I actually really want to get a replay, but unfortunately, we don't think we're going to be able to find that replay. But I mean, yeah, we got a good shot of it then, but I'd like to see that from on board. We've seen this a couple of times. I've almost just answered my own question I was about to ask yourself, Ed. I'm guessing that will be, again, the low downforce. People aren't necessarily used to as much of the low downforce. I know it's in the lower speed corners, but even so, that lack of downforce is just catching some of these drivers out occasionally.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Low downforce, you've not got that much grip to the rear of the car. So when you apply the throttle, you don't have sort of any downforce, anything weighing the car. We get the extra stability at the rear. So as soon as you pick up the throttle from those sorts of corners, you do struggle a little bit for traction, and sliding like that doesn't do your tyres any good, and it doesn't do your lap time any good because you're losing time. You're not getting the acceleration. These cars is one of their strongest points, is the sheer acceleration they have. As soon as you lose that, you're not going to be up with the likes of the leaders in this fight. So, cars battling away. Mark Winters had a little look there on Alvaro Montes, didn't he? But no positions being made up just yet for Mark. Finding what are the gaps, though. What are the lap times being set at the moment? Jacob Money extending his margin, the 2-minute 3.2. That's 0.6 of a lap quicker than Roy Mars, second place in AM. So Jacob Money is continuing to build his margin. Very good drive, isn't it, from our current AM standings leader. And if he puts in performances like this for the remaining laps, for the remaining, well, hour and a bit, he's going to have to say it's definitely looking like an AM Championship victory for Jacob Money.
Well, possibly. I mean, I'm not going to say the commentator's curse is the last thing that I want to do. But
I'm sure I'd love you for it.
I'm sure he would. But at the same time, though, yeah, it's one of the things that he's got confidence and he's got so much confidence. But what is going to happen here? This is between Mark Winters and Alvaro Montes. I thought that was going to be a potential move then. Alvaro Montes getting a little bit sideways there. That's compromised him going through into La Source. But no move made there from Mark Winters. He's having a bit of a look, though, isn't he? He's just putting Montes under pressure. He doesn't really need to do much at this point. You just need to sit behind him and just try and put him under as much pressure as he possibly can. He gets a little bit sideways, though. So drivers, they're just taking a bit too much out of their tyres at this stage of the race. How long they can go on without changing tyres is, well, how much wear they get is obviously going to be a crucial factor, because there is a certain stage at this point, and normally about 60% or so of your tyres, and then they start to drop off pretty quickly. So the quicker you get to that, obviously that's not going to be ideal. Again, Mark Winters, he's going to have another look. Again, decides against it. He's not in a position to overtake, is he, though, really, Ed, to be fair? And he's just putting his car out of the toe just to try and, again, just to put Montes off a little bit. He is close, but at the moment, not close enough.
Yeah, not quite there yet. Oh, as I say that, he has a little bit of a look, doesn't he, through Bruxelles. Ooh, I thought we were going to see a good little bit of a slide as he took a lot of speed there going through No Name, but not to be. Mark Winters, he does seem to be on a charge. He wants this podium position. He wants to get ahead of Alvaro Montes, but Montes, he doesn't want to give it up, does he? He doesn't want to roll over and take it. As we see EJ Fielner, this is, oh, that's a big slide, isn't it? Going through the long right-hander, EJ Fielner seemingly struggling at this moment in time.
Yeah, indeed. Another replay here of Alexander Walton that's gone off track. Is this going to be one out going through No Name? It is indeed. Yep, so nothing major. There he goes on with no real issues. Actually, meanwhile, I'm just having a quick look. Is this going to be a battle for positions? Going to be another change of the lead here between Peter and Kraft. Is it going to be? Yes, it is indeed. It's almost like having DRS, isn't it, at this point? You sort of like all of a sudden, nothing really happens. You press a button, and then all of a sudden the overtake is done and dusted even before you go through into Lecom. So, again, role reversal this time. Daniel Kraft is now the person in P2, and now he's got to try and catch up and sit. And now sit behind or get past Molnar Peter. Depends what he is going to do. So yeah, a couple of battles up and down the field. Like I said, this obviously is one of them. And I wonder if we're going to see any. I'm sure we're going to see, because look, we've got 55 minutes. So another 2 laps, and then this is going to be where the positions are changing as well. Looking through here, this is going to be Alvaro Montez and Roy Mass that are battling now. So who is going to be the person out on top? They're going to go potentially side by side going through into the com. They don't. Alvaro Montez, he takes that position. And also Andy Spicer has passed. Okay, so Mark Winter's actually in the pits. That'll be why that we haven't seen him on track. I wondered where he went, and that's because he is in the pits. Yes, Alvaro Montez getting past Roy Mass, and obviously that's not what Roy Mass wants. It's what Alvaro Montez wants, obviously, but it's definitely not what Roy Mass wants.
No, definitely not, especially as we're expecting these drivers to be coming into the pits very shortly indeed. That gets them in the best positions to get the most out of their pit stop phases, as yet again the fastest lap of the race being set by Molnar Peter. The 2-minute 1.769. Very nice lap time there from the Impulse Racing driver. Trying to build a margin now to Dan Craft after, we saw Daniel Craft, didn't we? Try and push to build up that margin, build a gap into the pits. Didn't quite work out for him, but now it's Molnar Peter's turn to have the track position as they make their way into the pit stop phases. So keep your eyes open for the pro drivers for when they're next expected into the pits, while we watch Alvaro Montez staying out for another lap. This should put him in with a chance of extending the stint, as we see in the background there Roy Mars make his way into the pits. And I think, judging by this, Roy Mars, he is going to struggle to keep the stops to a minimum, and it looks like there could be a splash and dash on the cards for Roy Mars towards the end of the race, and that is going to be massive in terms of his finishing position, because just look how slowly he has to go through the pit road. I think it is around about 60 or so kilometers an hour. Just not quite showing the same ability to save fuel compared to the likes of Alvaro Montez and Jacob Money. Meanwhile, is Bot Holston going to come into the pits this time by, or will we see the Iridium Motorsport driver extend his stint for another lap?
Possibly. I mean, to be fair, we haven't got too long before we find out. I think, yeah, again, you need to get it past the half-hour mark. You need to get it past the 30-minute, because, yeah, it wasn't too much, like Road Atlanta wasn't too much of a difference. Whereas a track like this, with this pit entrance, and with this pit lane, you just will lose so much time, and it is obviously not ideal. So, yeah, I think, what we're going to see, is he going to come in? No, he goes another lap. They all do pretty much. So the top 4, so from P4 to P7, so that's Horston, Mering, Laval, and Hayden. They all stay out for another lap, which, to be fair, I think, as I said, was needed. Are we going to see, though, this is the crucial thing, are we going to see anyone extend their lap maybe even further? So Molnar Peter... potentially, actually, do you know what? I wonder if this is going to be, if Daniel Craft is going to make the move, I'd put money on the fact he's going to pit. They've got a bit of traffic up ahead. They're going to have to watch out for that. They're going to go side by side. Dan Craft darts in before the braking zone and now retakes the lead. So I'd almost be certain now, Ed, and I'm sure you would agree with me, that Daniel Craft is going to be coming in the pits this lap.
It depends on the pit, on the traffic, I feel, because Daniel Craft is the car ahead at this phase as he makes his way through behind EJ Fuellner. If he's able to get ahead and he sees the likes of Alexander Walton are held up by the back marker traffic, then he'd go for it. But no, that isn't the case, is he? He's not going to be able to gain just as much. I'd say Daniel Craft and Molnar Peter could extend for another lap. I think all 3 of these drivers actually up the front of the field, Daniel Craft, Molnar Peter, Alexander Walton, all could make it another lap this time by. It's all dependent, of course, on how confident they are on their abilities of saving fuel on this stop. Keep my eyes open as well. The likes of Horston, he's extended his stint so far. He came to the pits lap 14 when most of the cars around him came in on lap 15 to make sure their stints were nice and long to stay in the fight. But this is it. Are we going to see Daniel Kraft and Molnar Peter come into the pits? We see Molnar Peter come into the pits and Daniel Kraft and Alexander Walton. So these drivers all making their way through into the pits. And Bart Horston as well to make his way into the pits. Yep, I think he does indeed. Barco Maring staying out, as is Timo Hayden. So they've been able to extend their stint one extra lap compared to the likes of Daniel Kraft, Mol, and Molnar Peter, all these drivers into the pits because they all came in on lap 15, as did Barco Maring and Timo Hayden. So that means that their final stop of the race is expected to be shorter just because they're extending the stints now at this point in the race. But we are over the 1 hour mark, over halfway through the race. Are we going to see tyres being taken?
Do you know what? That's an interesting question. One we haven't actually touched on this race. I don't know. Spa tends to be... Every time Spa, if you can keep the tyres in check, they do last a surprisingly long time. It depends. If you start driving them too hard, especially with the LMP2 cars and the way they are anyway, if you start driving them a little bit too hard, then they will absolutely get lunched. So, yeah, bit of tactics there. Obviously, looking at the pit timers, we're seeing how long that these guys are actually in the pit stalls. So, obviously, we had Barco Maring and Timo Hayden for their first round of pit stops. They were 25 seconds, pretty much a piece, 3/10 in it between them. Looking further down, I think, to be fair, the couple of people that we may have seen that have taken tyres, one of them is Mark Winters, the other Andy Spicer. I think those two have taken tyres by the fact of how long they were actually sitting in the pits for. But this is crucial. I was actually looking at the times of which Daniel Kraft and all that they came into the pit. I tell you what, it was very close on the hour. Like it was scarily close on the hour, to the point where you think they've got to try and save maybe a little bit more fuel just to make sure they're 100% safe. Unless they've timed it, unless they've actually calculated it absolutely perfectly, which they obviously very well may have done. It's close. Like, because the track's so long here, especially the pit lane is so long. It's careful. You've got to be careful. But Barco Maring, there we go, in the pits, and as well, Timo Hayden is in the pits also. So it's now going to be seeing how much time these guys have actually made, because I reckon they've made quite a bit of time up, probably a good couple of seconds. If they can do that a couple more times, then they'll be laughing.
Ooh. Daniel Kraft has taken tyres, and I think potentially he might have been the only driver to have done so. I'm having a look at the pit times, and I'm seeing times in the region of, well, Molnar Peter took a 1 minute 30 in the pits, whereas the likes of actually Alexander Walton, Bart Horston, and Daniel Kraft might all have taken tyres. I think maybe Alexander Walton and Bart Horston only took a couple, whereas Daniel Kraft, I think, took all 4 new tyres on board. So keep your eyes open for the Pure Sims driver here, the number 22. What can he manage at this stage in the race? He's going to have to really go for it, I think.
Well, yeah. To be fair, that's a big loss of time, especially for like track position. But yeah, we're going to have to. We're going to see really how that does pay out. There is Molnar Peter. He's going to go through and retake the lead. Timo Hayden, where are they going to come out for? They both get past. Are they even out of the pits yet? They're just about to come out of the... No, they don't even... They're not even moving yet. Neither is Timo Hayden. So they're up on the
jacks.
They're up on the jacks. So again, these guys are actually taking fuel as well. See if we can get a better camera angle for here.
Tyres.
Yeah, look at that. They're all taking tyres. Interesting. So Molnar Peter, man who has not taken tyres. Neither has Ibola Laval, who's now just been promoted into P2. Oh, this is interesting. This is really sort of... this has spiced things up, because if I'm honest, I don't actually know what is... I don't know what's going to be quicker. I mean, traffic, obviously that's going to have to play account, but if these tyres really start to drop off for these guys, which after 2 hours they probably will, towards the last sort of like 25 minutes... it's going to be a tall order, though. It's going to be a tall order. We've actually got Ramez Razam, I'm guessing that is Razam, saying Peter didn't take tyres, Alex and Daniel did. So, yeah, Peter and Laval didn't take tyres as well, either, by the looks of it. So,
yeah, exactly, yeah. Molnar Peter and Ibola Laval could be an inspired choice from Molnar Peter to not have taken tyres, because look at the margin he has to his competitors. Daniel Kraft, who we saw I think Daniel Craft took all 4 tyres. We're going to see him. He's about 40 seconds back from our race leader. So big margins currently on display. And on the course of an hour to go, to close up 40 seconds in an hour, I don't think that's doable. I think you can have the best tyres in the world and that wouldn't be doable. But of course, we don't know that just yet. We're just commentators for a reason. We're not racing, and who knows? Maybe we're going to be proven wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. That's for sure.
Well, that's very, very true. Just looking, they've done 31 laps in that hour. Now, 31 laps in the hour. That is, you've got to do 1.2 seconds a lap. Then roughly, that's just a complete guess. Obviously, if you took a second out, the gap's 40 seconds. If you took a second out with 31 laps, you get 31 seconds. That leaves you 9 seconds in hand. So maybe, 1.2 seconds a lap. That's a tall order. Now, I don't know if that's initially going to be possible. We're going to find out when the lap times start getting on the board. I mean, to be fair, Daniel Craft did just put in a 2:02.58. So he's about 4/10 a lap quicker, 4/10 quicker on that lap than Molnar Peter. Obviously, that's half of what he needs on an average, bear in mind. And that's excluding traffic. That's excluding anything else that happens during this race.
Don't forget as well, he's going to have cold tyres, whereas everyone else with their older tyres, they don't need to worry about getting the heat back into them. They already have enough latent heat in them, so they don't need to worry too much about that coming out of the box. Meanwhile, though, this is something that Daniel Craft probably doesn't really need, is the likes of Timo Hayden fighting with him and fighting for on-track position. Timo Hayden as well, don't forget. I'm having a look at his pit stop. He only took a couple of tyres at the pit stop. They could have been either just fronts or maybe the left-hand outside tyres. And Daniel Craft doesn't seem to have been able to get his tyres up and running just as of yet. So this is going to be really big in terms of the fight for the race victory. Timo Hayden seemingly on a charge, on a mission. But none of them really have an answer to Molnar Peter, and that's going to come down to now is Molnar going to come up to the end of the race where he finds his tyres come to a cliff? That's, I think, the only thing that could really dampen Molnar Peter's chances of winning this race.
Yeah, massively. I think when you look at it, looking at the gap here, so Daniel Craft is now 39.9, so it's hovering around that 40-second mark, and Molnar Peter, he's 18 seconds clear of Ivola Laval. Potentially that's maybe a podium is on the cards for Daniel Craft if he can get the pace. Maybe even P2. But that P1, that extra 18 seconds, that is a lot of pace to try and find. But you're absolutely right. Tyres could absolutely drop off a cliff. So, again, with halfway to go, or with 52 minutes left to go, really again, it's all to play for. We just need to know and just need to understand sooner rather than later, hopefully. Again, once these last pit stops and once I think Daniel Craft can really get into a rhythm. Because it will take, 5 or 6 laps for these tyres to actually scrub in. Once they scrub in, he's going to have some incredible pace. But it's going to take a little bit of time. As an example, Timo Hayden with last lap with the 2:01.86. He did have the toe as well. Daniel Craft's last lap with the 2:03.2. So, I'm a little bit surprised at what Daniel Craft has done. But again, he's had to prove us wrong, and I do hope he does. Because I can't quite work out how he's going to do it at this moment in time.
It's going to be a tall order, but we do know the pace that Daniel Craft has had. He showed it early on in the race. I think he's just got the mental block now. He's realised that he's lost a lot more time than he was expecting to with the tyre changes, and now he's going to trust. He's got to get his head down, doesn't he? He doesn't need to worry too much about everything that's going on around him. Instead, focusing 100% on the task at hand, which is, of course, going to be catching up to the cars in front, passing them, and making his way up to Molnar Peter. But to be fair, Molnar Peter, he's been having a brilliant race. 18 seconds clear of his nearest competitor, Ivola Laval. And Ivola Laval, he is seemingly out of nowhere brought himself really into contention for a podium place. He might get caught up by Alexander Walton, who's going to have fresher tyres. But I definitely think if I was in Ivola's position, if I was any one of these drivers, I'd take a podium, especially in a series as competitive as this Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship. It takes a lot of effort to get a race victory. Daniel Craft gets really off the black stuff, doesn't he? Going through Blanchimont just to keep it nice and safe as he makes his way past potentially a back marker. I think that was there. It's their team at Hayden though. He already got ahead of Daniel Craft, and now he's setting his sights firmly on the car in front, and that is Bart Horston.
Timo Hayden, yeah, he's really he knows what he needs to do. He wants the position. He doesn't want to settle for 6th. He wants 5th, and then to be fair, I'm sure he's going to want to be gunning for 4th if he can get past Bart Horston. So, is it going to be here? I'm not entirely sure. Probably not though, because there is a little bit of a gap. Although I'm sure he's going to try his absolute best. Look at that, he's in the slipstream probably for as long as he can possibly be before he then rotates and then pulls back out into the slipstream. Do you know what? He's actually gone and done it. I'm not too sure what happened there, but Timo Hayden just passed Bart Horston. And Bart Horston didn't really defend it at all, did he? Now, I'm not entirely sure why that is. Could be fuel save, could be tyres, could be the fact that he knows that Timo Hayden's got some pace. He's going to try and allow him to catch up to Burkhard Mering and slow them up and then try and capitalise on that. There could be a number of things, but yeah, there was no fight there at all. So Timo Hayden being gifted P5 there with no real struggle at all.
Yeah, definitely. It doesn't seem to be wide fight, but then again, that might be the smart thing to do. Just let him have the position. The slipstream is so strong, and also you can use the slipstream yourself the next time by, either just to stay with the car ahead or to try and pass him out. I think at this stage, Timo Hayden's shown such great pace that I don't think you could really try and pass him. Instead, it's going to be a matter of keeping in touch, using the slipstream just to sort of stay there and try and capitalize on the charge Timo is making. Because look, I think this next lap we might be expecting him to pass Burkhard Mering, and that just shows Timo Hayden what a race he's had after the sort of unfortunate beginning, really turning it into something worthwhile here.
He's had his Weetabix this morning, hasn't he? He has had his Weetabix, and he's had probably 3 or 4 helpings of them. It's just he can't be stopped at the moment. I'm actually struggling to cover. He's just done this last lap with a 2:01.87. To put it into perspective, Molnar Peter's last lap was a 2:02.85. He was a second quicker than Timo Hayden, than Molnar Peter. I actually am thinking about it now. He's got the pace at the moment. If he continues that pace, he might have the pace to actually catch up to Molnar Peter. If he can gain that second 1.2, 1.3 out, then yeah, he might actually be something we haven't considered initially. But yeah, that could be on the cards as well. Also, as well, we are going to see that Molnar Peter is going to lose some time because he's not able to save as much fuel as some of the guys behind him. So, yeah, while that's probably not going to save too much, maybe a second, or he's going to lose maybe a second to the guys behind him. Again, like I said, with the 45 minutes left we've got of this race, that still could really be the key. I'm actually just looking though, and yeah, I'm really not. I'm looking at the times left. I'm looking at the time left. I'm looking at the gap between Craft and Hornstern and Hayden, and I'm slowly thinking, well, much more quickly thinking that this is a very, very high bar to try and catch up to even Ayabola Laval, who's 12, 13 seconds. Actually, no. Actually, tell a lie. I can't do maths. 18 seconds up the road. So, yeah. It's tricky, isn't it? It's very hard to comprehend anything like that happening at this moment in time.
The scary thing for these drivers that have taken tyres is the fact that both Molnar Peter and Ayabola Laval, their paces are dropping. It's consistently in the low 2-minute threes as we see Alexander Walton close that margin down, doing a 2-minute 2.2. So he is quick, but the pace isn't really considerably slower from our race leaders, both first and second, putting in very quick times, it has to be said. They're just not dropping off to the level that I think some of their competitors were expecting. Now, maybe, of course, that can all change later on. We might see the pace begin to fall away from the likes of Laval and Molnar Peter as they make their way into their final stint. But it doesn't seem so. As Timo Hayden, look at this, down the inside into Lake Com, the slipstream really working well. And Timo Hayden now up into 4th position. Great charge here from the Impulse Racing driver. Podium could be on the cards here if he's able to close up to the likes of Alexander Walton, but Alexander also is one of the drivers that took fresh tyres. I'm not sure I'll be able to pull it off this time. Instead, he's going to have to hope, I think, for Ibola Laval's tyres to drop away. And there's the slightest hint that Ibola's tyres are starting to move away from him, starting to wear down. But like I said, it's a very slight hint, isn't it? It's not quite the monstrous gaps that we were expecting to see. And instead, I think it's a bit more marginal. It's a bit more gradual. Maybe we'll see a bigger drop off to the end, but I think it might be just a little bit too little, too late in terms of allowing other drivers to catch up. Alexander Walton is probably the only driver I could see passing Ibola Laval.
You're going to see a drop off. You are going to see a drop off towards the end. I mean, actually, thinking about it, what they may do as well, that I've actually just had a bit of a thought of. This is a battle here, though. Look at this between Alvaro Melendez and Robert Edouard. We haven't actually seen too much of these guys before, but they are really trying to kick off now. Going to go side by side, going through Blanchimont. Oh my goodness! Wow, Alvaro Melendez wanted that position, took the position, and has now put up fair play. That's a brave move to make at the best of times, let alone in an LMP2 car doing about 230 kilometers an hour. So, fair play indeed. That was, I actually want to see a replay of that. That was a fantastic move. I want to see that again. I want to see that again from a different camera angle. Let's look at it from the roll bar here. So he gets a mega run. And at this point, he just keeps it absolutely pinned. There is going to be obviously a small little lift, but let's go through, see going through turn 1. Oh, I tell you, that's actually quite a good camera angle. I'm glad I got that. But yeah, great move there from Alvaro Melendez. That was really, really something indeed. It's not often that you see people pass there, which is why when it does happen, it should be celebrated and enjoyed.
Yeah, definitely. Look at this as well. Alvaro Melendez. He's fighting back. He's getting ahead of Roberto Edouard. Starting to see battles starting to reappear, aren't they, now? We've got into the phase of the race where we thought the battles were starting to come to a close before the final stages, but there's still stuff to watch and to celebrate. Excellent pass there by Alvaro Melendez, the Iridium Motorsports driver. Now trying to build the margin to Roberto Edouard, who I believe actually Melendez did have the tyre advantage that time by just taking a couple of tyres, I believe. So not the full set compared to some of the other drivers, the likes of Daniel Kraft taking full set of tyres, and actually potentially I think Daniel Kraft might have been the only one to have taken the full set of tyres. It doesn't seem to be working. I'm having a look at his times. He's done a 2-minute 2.6. And compared to some of the other times that other drivers are doing, drivers that have only taken one set of tyres, he isn't actually quicker than them.
Yeah,
I'm really surprised by that, considering his pace that he showed early on with worn tyres. At the early stage of the race, he was basically untouchable. He was able to pull big gaps to the likes of Molnar, Peter, and Walton that he was fighting with. But since then, he's just don't know what's quite happened. Oh, and what has happened there with Andy Spicer? He just locks up into the bus stop. Careful on the rejoin. There we go.
Yeah, someone's actually just put a good to something in the chat as well, which yeah, let's just touch on that. I'd agree with you. I was expecting a bigger disparity between the lap times, and again, like I said, we could very well still see that. Timo Hayden's still putting in some blinding lap times, but also as well, Alexander Walton is obviously they've both taken tyres, so yeah, they're both catching up with Ibola Laval. And so Andrew wanted to put Laval, I think won't take tyres too. I haven't been watching, but just from what we so looking at it. Personally, I don't feel like at this stage of the race, I think it would be maybe a little bit too late now for Ibola Laval to actually take tyres and for it to be worthwhile. He probably just needs to just keep the tyres he's got now and just immerse them. Well, actually, to be fair, though, look at that. You can just see it going out of Rivage. That wasn't Rivage, that was Stavilo. You going out of Stavilo. You just saw, again, the back end really kicking out, and Alexander Walton is just absolutely reeling him in. Last lap time was 7 tenths quicker. So again, Molnar Peter, he's just not able. He's just doesn't let off. 2026 was his last lap, so it's pretty much exactly the same. That could mean though that he is really using them up, trying to extend that gap and keep that gap as wide as it possibly can be until the tyres do hit the cliff. But we've got one more pit stop to go. Are we actually going to see Molnar Peter take tyres, or maybe take a couple of tyres? I really don't know. But if he takes one set of tyres, or if he takes a set of fronts or a set of rears, then that's going to put him just within the clutches of Alexander Walton. So I think if people were to take tyres, time was at that second stop. I don't think it'll be beneficial now. So regardless what happens, they're going to have to stick with their choice, I think, Ed.
Yeah, definitely. This is the point now where all of these drivers, after their now this is the point where they are committed. They cannot go back on what they've done at their second stop. They need to really commit. If we see the likes of Ibo Lavelle come in to take tyres, if Alexander Walton... Well, I mean, Alexander Walton shouldn't be taking tyres. He's already done so. But if even the likes of Molnar Peter takes tyres, I don't think it'll be the right decision. And I mean, well, this has been very sort of illuminating, I guess, phase of the race. Seeing the difference between the tyres. The thing that we were expecting to see was, of course, bigger disparity between drivers taking and not taking tyres. I mean, to be fair, give them credit. I was expecting the margins to be much larger between the drivers that have and haven't taken tyres, but it hasn't seemed to be the case, as we see that was Molnar Peter putting a lap on Chris Pio in the Apex Tech racing car. Little thing to have a look as well, we haven't looked at it in a little while, is the performance of Jacob Money in the AM category, still leading, doing all he needs to do to take the AM Championship. As it stands, he will be crowned AM champion, but he does need to bring it home till the end of this stint and then one further one. And in fact, what we'll have to look at as well is what Jacob May does in terms of his pit stops compared to those around him. If he's able to extend his stint and do what we expect to be the avoidance of the splash and dash towards the end, then it looks like his race. But if he isn't able to do that, if he has to take the splash and dash, we could be seeing a very dramatic conclusion to this AM Championship.
This is true. This is very, very true. So you got Ivo Laubscher, his one of his teammates in the pro category is obviously just up ahead. So yeah, he needs
in fact, I've had a little bit of a look. Jacob Money came into the pits on lap 28, whereas the front runners that we saw taking their pit stops a little bit later than the ones that we expect to make it till the end did it on lap 29. So Jacob Money, he might struggle actually.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. Yes, is he going to need to save more fuel? Or, again, has he timed it? Have they calculated it absolutely perfectly? This could be... I mean, we really don't know. Again, it's one of the things that we just don't know. It's all up in the air at the moment. We haven't got too long before we find out what's going on. But yeah, anyone who pits before the 1 hour 30 mark is going to have to most probably pit again. Anyone that doesn't, obviously, will be able to go to the end. It's going to be tight either way. So you want to be as far past the 1 hour 30 mark as possible. But at the same time, yeah, you've got to... it's going to be close. So yeah, Jacob Money needs to make sure he just saves all of that fuel, every little drop. He needs to turn this LMP2 car in a Toyota Yaris or something and try and conserve as much fuel as he possibly can. But I mean, the gap, he's not got really anyone to really worry about. One, he's actually in P2, so the Money brothers, as you can see, just going through Rivage there. So yeah, Will Money, he's in P2 at the moment, just sort of sitting there comfortably again. He's got a little bit of a gap to himself and Roy Mass. It's about 1.7 seconds. You can just see the back of shot just there. So something to be cautious of, but at the same time, it's not too bad. I mean, the gap between himself and Jacob Money is about 9 seconds. So it's 12 seconds actually, according to the time and apologies. So it's even more. So Jacob Money can afford to save a bit of fuel if he needs to make sure he gets as close at least he can to that 1 hour 30 as possible. Because yeah, otherwise, if he doesn't, well, this is going to be interesting. This is going to put a spanner in the works potentially.
Absolutely. This could be going right down to the wire. Let's see, though. I think Jacob Money will expect him to take at least another lap, which will put him closer to the sort of 1 hour 30 mark. Yeah, we see it across the line now. I don't know, though, if he's going to make it or not. I expect him to come into the pits maybe this lap or the next. If he makes it to the next lap, then he might just be in with a shout. If he doesn't, if he pits on the end of this lap, then Jacob Money's in trouble. And that is something that I think could start to send the alarm bells ringing and maybe start to bring the celebrations potentially in the eyes of Roy Mars, who, let's not forget, is probably the nearest driver out on track that could compete for the AM Championship. Roy Mars is what, about let's have a look. I think 7 points difference between Jacob Money and Roy Mars. So if Roy is able to take the race victory and Will Money finishes ahead of Jacob Money, or Jacob Money finishes down in third place, I think that's when we see the big enough swing. However, if Jacob Money finishes first or second, I think this is his championship sealed. Third, if Roy Mars finishes in first, I don't think is going to be enough.
It's close, isn't it? Like, it's 35 minutes left to go, or 34 minutes left to go. I mean, again, it's just, we could think of all these different scenarios, all these different things, but then the one thing that we don't think of could be the thing that obviously happens. So, again, there's just lots of things that could really kick off. I think one of the things that's actually going to kick off is this a battle between, it is going to be Alexander Walton has just got past Ibola Laval. That was I think an overtake waiting to happen. And Ibola Laval, he hasn't taken tires. He's got nothing to answer to, really. He just needs to let it happen. Try and sit behind him for as long as he can. But I think with the pace that Walton had, that was an inevitable move. Do you think that was... I mean, last lap time, as an example, last lap time's a 2 minute... 2 minutes 2.09 for Alexander Walton, was a 2 minute 2.65 for Ibola Laval. Look at this. Roy Mass, he's just pitted. So he's pitted well under the 1 hour 30 mark. Jacob Money hasn't pitted yet, so he's going to go at least another lap. It's going to be tight, but it's going to be close. I think that is Jiren Racing saying he pitted early in stint 1. Roy Mass cannot make it to the end. He pitted early in stint 1. Right, there we go. Ooh. So yeah, Jacob Money, apparently saying Jacob Money wins this as long as he finishes no more than 3 positions behind Roy Mass. And at the moment, Roy Mass is going to have another pit stop. Now that's a minute pit stop. So I think, again, not saying anything. Let us not say this. Not saying anything. It's not worth. It's not worth saying anything. But yeah, that's Jaden actually just giving us some good updates here. Justin Young could win this. He looks like he can make it to the half hour. Yeah, so whoever can make it to the half hour absolutely is going to have a massive advantage moving forward. But yeah, this is where now we're going to start to see pit stops happen.
Absolutely. But if Justin Young, he does make it to the half hour mark, he needs to finish quite a fair few positions ahead of Jacob Money. The gap between the pair of them is about 12 points. So Justin Young really needs something unfortunate to happen to Jacob Money to be in with a show of winning. And we see Will Money just get a little bit wide there, coming out of the bus stop, taking on off track, but seemingly all right aside from that. Evo Lobsher losing the car a little bit there, going through Malmedy, getting off onto the gravel. No harm there. Andy Spicer, is this another... definitely an off-track excursion there out of the final corner. Picking up an off-track for his troubles as well. So, a few drivers exploring the limits of the track there in recent times. And this is Bart Horston here looking to the inside. Does he take the position? Yeah, easy position gained there with the slipstream by Bart Horston, charging his way up through the field. We'll see if he's going to be able to make a fair few more positions, because he does seem to be very quick at this stage of the race. Expecting as well the likes of Molnar Peter, Alexander Walton, Ibola Laval, all of these front runners to make their way into the pits very shortly, as well we'll expect Jacob Money. And I think Jacob Money, look at that. The time is now 1 minute 30. Jacob Money, I think he's just going to be able to make it till the end. So he's done a very good job to save fuel, whereas Will Money, his teammate, hasn't. Look at that. He's all the way down the order now. He's already in the pits. So it's going to be very touch and go for the driver, Will Money, as Molnar Pizza, Alexander Walton, Ibo Lavelle make their way into it. It's just at the 1 minute, 1 hour 30 mark. I think they've just managed this. I think they just have enough. It's going to be touch and go. They're going to have to sort of do a bit of fuel saving, but I think they've done it, Dan. I think they're going to be able to take it till the end of the race now. So any drivers that we see coming into the pits from now on, they're going to be safe.
I think as well, just taking into consideration that the pit lane is about 3 miles long. It takes a day to get around it. So that's obviously going to add another minute onto the pits. It's going to add another minute onto the time. So, yeah, there's probably going to be, let's say, any driver, you're right, any driver who pits now should be okay. But look at this, though. Bart Horston, Timo Hayden. This is now the battle provisionally. Actually, this is Bart Horston and Burkhard Mehring. Battle for currently now P2. But these guys have not made their third pit stop. So Timo Hayden, currently a provisional leader. Now, before the pit stop, you just saw him go at a shot just there. But Alston in P2, Burkhard Mehring P3, and Alvaro Melendez in P4. But like I said, these guys have not pitted yet. So Walton, Laval, Kraft, and Edouard are all in the pits for their third and final pit stop. Jacob Money is also in the pits for his third and final pit stop, as is Alvaro Montez. So everyone's starting to, I think the fuel saving that people needed, this is exactly what they needed. I'm just having a look. Let's have a look at Molnar Peter. 50 seconds. So I wonder if he's taken some tyres there. I wonder if he's taken some tyres. Actually, I'm just having a look. What was his pit stop? No, he hasn't. So 25 seconds was his last pit stop. Again, he's not taken tyres. That's, I mean, like we said, he would have had to have run with it. I don't think there was any benefit in taking tyres at this point. But it's now how much he can conserve them. Because everyone ahead of him hasn't taken a pit stop. And obviously everyone behind him, a couple of them have taken tyres as well. So it's still a bit touch and go. Because, like, yeah, if Molnar Peter's tyres hit a cliff, I mean, he's just going to have absolutely nothing to go with. There's just going to be nothing on his front tyres.
And I'm seeing on my screens that Burkhard Mehring is out of the race as he had an incident. We saw him, I think we saw him fighting up the order, didn't we? So as Burkhard Mehring, he's had a moment potentially. This is Molnar Peter, I think, just running a little bit wide, maybe picking up an off track.
Well, apparently this is the overtake. Apparently this is an overtake on
It said that he was out of the race. That was when he made a pass. But I don't know what happened to Burkhard Mehring actually to put him out. It says there's an overtake. Yeah, so for some reason, Burkhard Mehring's car is somewhere there. I don't know where, but it's somewhere over there. Here we go. This is the incident. This is Bart Horston in the 50 car overtaking Burkhard Mehring into Les Combes. It seems to be fine. Is it just an internet dropout for Burkhard Mehring, perhaps? I think it might be, unfortunately, and that is a really disappointing way for his race. Yeah, I can just see Burkhard Mehring received throughput, fell to unacceptable levels.
Oh, no.
That's just catastrophic, isn't it? Completely out of his control. Seems internet troubles have taken Burkhard Mehring out of the race.
It's not good, is it? It's not what you want. It's such a shame when stuff like that happens. It really, really is. So yeah, big shame. One thing I've just noticed actually is Alexander Walton's come out P2. The gap is 18 seconds between himself and Molnar Peter. Now, 25 minutes, 18 seconds. I'm doing the maths in my head, and it's still a tall order. From what I can tell. But yeah, big shame. Like I said, Burkhard Mehring, it's the equivalent of what you would have as a mechanical failure in a real car. You know, it's completely out of your control. Could it have been prevented? If so, it's nothing that could have been done from the user side. It's, you know, it happens. Obviously, I'm sure we've all been in that situation, one way, shape, or form. So we can definitely we feel for Burkhard Mehring, but hopefully he's going to be back in the. Hopefully he's going to be back in the race, and he's going to be on his way to finish out the final round. But actually, look, let's bring the battle box up between these two here. 17.8 seconds. So, looking at it, he's going to have to take 1.2 seconds a lap out of Molnar Peter there. If I'm doing them, like I said, as a minimum, to even just catch up, let alone pass. So, again, we're going to see, unless we do see the tyres absolutely drop off. I think Molnar Peter, though, I think he's just looked after his tyres. I really think he's just going to have looked after his tyres. And we're not really going to see too much. We're not really see too much happen here because I don't know. Like, he's not had really any pressure for this last third of the second third of this race. So I really don't know. I think he's managed to keep his tyres. We saw and we know that these guys are so fast. They're so controlled. They know exactly what they're doing. That I'm sure Molnar Peter is not. This is not an exception for this round.
Yeah, we're just not seeing the drop-off that I think a lot of these drivers, and to be fair, us in the comms box, were expecting. We were really anticipating a bigger performance difference between old and fresh tyres, but that hasn't been the case, has it, Dan? We've been seeing the drivers like sort of Molnar, Peter, Laval, able to keep their tyres in good nick, able to really keep the performance to the best that they can. And as a result, we're going to be seeing the drivers that haven't taken tyres really profiting. Ibola Laval seems to me on track for a podium as long as he can keep the likes of Simo Hayden at bay. But Molnar Peter, I can't expect him losing out on this. The only thing that could really sort of dampen his race is a mistake with worn rubber, but it doesn't seem to be like that is on the cards for Molnar Peter. He's driven immaculately all race. I'm expecting that to continue into this final stint. The pressure might start to mount a little bit as he realizes the margins he has. He's got a little bit to work with. He can afford to lose a little bit of time here or there. Can't afford to lose too much, though. Of course, you will be vulnerable to make mistakes if you're not driving at the same level. I find that whenever I'm driving, I don't know if you're the same, Dan, but if I'm driving at, say, about 95%, if I'm not taking the same amount of sort of pace, I guess, through the corners that I'm used to doing, I actually end up making more mistakes. So it's often better for me to push a bit harder than I normally should be doing.
Sometimes, yeah, it depends. As we got Chris Pierce had a bit of a moment. Is it going to be a spit?
Oh my word.
That must be, I'm guessing, steering wheel disconnect of some description? Hardware issue?
It looks to be that way. I'm not sure what it was. It could have been a massive stutter, and Chris Pio, it just kept him turning the way he was. Possibly. It definitely looked like some form of hardware issue, and that has unfortunately put him out of the race.
Whoa!
Ivo Lopesha. Oh my word. What is going on there?
I don't know. Lapse of concentration, possibly. So, yeah, that's definitely given him some damage. One would have imagined. So not ideal. It looks like, to be fair. Oof.
Oh my word!
Have we got any steering damage? No, it doesn't look. Yeah, I can't actually tell.
I think he might be all right.
It
doesn't seem noticeable. Look at that. He's going to fight the sort of snap oversteer on the exit of the corners.
Blimey.
Yeah, I think he's just about gotten away with that one.
Very lucky. That's very lucky indeed. Daniel Craft, though, has had a bit of an off as well. Where is this going to be? This is going in.
Oh,
that was just going out Stavilo.
A little bit too much speed, too eager on the throttle.
Carrying all the speed and a little bit more through that. But yeah, both drivers going to continue on. So just some small little issues. We've actually got Bart Horston. He's had a moment. Where is this? So this is in going through into. Oh, just the whoa! What a speeding bullet of an LMP2 car. What on earth happened there?
I think that might be EJ Fjellner.
Wow.
They come all sorts of wrong. You can see he goes onto the brakes. Oof. Oh, you think he tries to fight back on the position. Really misjudges the speed taken into the corner.
That'd be why. It's because of the damage that he's got. If you look at the wheel. If you just look at the wheel, he's got very, very heavy left hand down.
It up and running again. How bad is the damage? Yeah, it's not in a good way, is it, that car? Unfortunately for EJ Fiona, but credit to him. He's soldiering on. He's keeping the spirit of the championship alive and well, not giving up. Like to see stuff like that, as long as he's able to obviously keep himself out of danger and keep himself out from running anyone else's race, then he'll be doing a very good job indeed. Meanwhile, there's a bit of a fight, I think, in the AM categories. We see EJ Fjellner getting the bus stop all sorts of wrong, then jumping over the curbs and then making his way into the pits. Get that damage fixed up, or maybe to unfortunately retire from the race. This is Andy Spicer. Oh, I think that was at the same time we saw him come in. So we saw AJ Fjellner go into the pits. Andy Spicer loops the rear of the car around. Look at this, though. I was about to allude to it. A fight in the AM category. Getting very close indeed. I think you can see that is Will Money, Raymas, and Mark Winters all together on track, all fighting for the bottom 2 steps of the podium. Mark Winters just outside of the podium places. He's going to really try and put on a charge in these final, 19 or so minutes.
Oh, he is indeed, and I would not have expected anything otherwise. I was going to ride on board with Mark Winters getting very, very close on the brakes going through bus stop. Look at that. That's going to be a small compromise there from Roy Mass. He's really going to have to potentially even defend going into La Source. Is he going to? Mark Winters can't decide which way he wants to go. He has to dart to the inside because Roy Mass is going to cut off the outside there, but then decides against it. Instead, he wants to try and sit behind and maybe make the move going into Lacombe. Look at that again, a little bit squirrely there from Roy Mass. He can't quite get the power down where he wanted. But now Mark Winters is on the back foot going through Erosion Radion. Look how much time he's going to have to lose actually going through. He's going to have to back off a little bit. Actually, as I say that, no, he proves me wrong and decides that he's going to keep it pinned and make the move so very early down the Kemmel straight. It might even happen way before. Although, look at now, Roy Mass is going to have a bit of a toe on Will Money, so I don't think... Oof, actually, no, that camera angle looked to be telling a different story. But look at... Oh, big save there. Big moment, big save from Mark Winters. He just carries a bit too much speed, and they're going to go side by side going through into Rivage, who's going to come out on top. Last of the late breakers, I still think it's going to be Mark Winters. And it is indeed for the moment. So it took a little bit longer than he would have liked. But the move was still... the move was made. And, yeah, definitely not the way that I think Mark Winters would have wanted. But nevertheless, another position.
There we go. Flash the headlights. You can see what Oars thinks of that move. He's not best pleased, but like Chaz says, flash the headlights gives you an extra 50 or so brake horsepower. That's
Does it?
The only reason why they do it.
Ah.
I can't think of any other reason why they just keep flashing their headlights.
Not
It
at all.
takes a
Not at
lot
all.
to press the button. It's a bit of a distraction.
Well, I think, to be fair as well, you can tell the frustration, can't you? Because, let's be honest, I think that is another position that Roy Mass is away from a championship victory. And from taking the title. So...
I think, to be fair though, I don't think Roy Mass is really going to be in with a shot. You can see the margins he has to Jacob Money is around about 16, 17 seconds. For Roy Mass to take the championship, he needs to finish in first, and like so Jacob Money needs to finish, I think, either third, fourth, or worse, depending on the bonus points that get allocated as the season moves on. And for me, I just don't think that'll be... I just don't think Roy Mass at the moment is going to have enough. The margins are too big. I can't see Jacob Money making a mistake. I think Roy Mass is going to have to settle for second place in the championship because Jacob Money, he has been nothing short of dominant this evening at Spa, but that's what he needed to do, wasn't he? He knew coming into this round that he was going to have his work cut out for him. He certainly has, though. Great driving so far from Jacob Money. Didn't quite manage it in qualifying, so there was a few question marks over his head, weren't there? Going into the start of the race, if he was able to pull it off, but he kept his head down, kept out of trouble early doors, and found himself in the best position to take it home for the remaining 15 minutes. And that's what separates Jacob Money from the AM Championship. Just 15 more minutes.
Indeed, it's not too long, is it? Look at that, EJ Fjellner has another small little moment, small pirouette, and but he gets back on his merry way, I think. So, going back to live. Yeah, it's not too long, is it? But this is going to be another battle. Look, Mark Winters, he's on a charge at the moment. He's caught up to Will Money actually really quite quickly. So, is there going to be another position to be had? This is obviously still a battle. This is the last step on the... Well, this is the second step on the podium for these guys, battling between second and third. Will Money is obviously going to be wanting to keep that position for the remaining 15 minutes of this race. But then we go... Whoa, how did Mark Winters save that? That was just... To be fair, I think that was just let the aero take over. He couldn't really do much after that. Is there going to be a move going through into Blanchimont? They're going to go side by side. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen here? Will Money actually backs out, probably quite wisely, actually, I think, and try and let the move happen, and then see if he can make that move coming back down onto the Kemmel Straight. But Mark Winters, he is not hanging about, is he?
No, he certainly isn't. Mark Winters bringing on a hard charge at this late phase of the race. It's enough to put him up into second place. You're going to see the move being made here. Gets a good run, gets the slipstream, goes to the inside. Will Money not fighting it whatsoever. Instead, quite content to concede the position, slot in behind through Blanchimont. Instead, trying to size up the move, going out of La Source all the way up into Les Commons. Let's go live back to them now. As I say that, actually, let's go to this fight here, because this is Ibola Laval trying to hold off from Timo Hayden, who's looking for a podium position in this late phase of the race. Timo Hayden, don't forget, was facing backwards even before the race got underway. This is going to be an amazing comeback drive if he's able to pull off a podium result here. And with his fresher tyres, you have to say he is looking the favourite for it. Close behind into the slipstream as they make their way down the hill in towards Eau Rouge. Bottom of the hill. Getting right up the rear bumper now, right in the rear diffuser. Aero performance lost, but he's got the tyres to keep up with it. Looks to the left-hand side now, forced the long way around as they make their way down the Kemmel Straight by Ibola Laval, wheel to wheel, as they get hard onto the brakes, sweeps around the outside. Timo Hayden, he's then going to get the inside, but there's contact, and Timo Hayden, he's facing backwards for the second time this race, this time towards the end. Timo Hayden, unfortunately, has contact with Ibola Laval, and that sends his podium chances into the dirt and into the area, just like his car. Unfortunate there for Timo Hayden. Does he have enough time to catch back up? Let's have a look at the replay again here, Dan. Look at that. It sends it around the outside, but look, it's just Ibola Laval, that's the tyres. It's not working for him. He loses the grip, slides the car, all four wheels sliding. That's just a sign of no grip.
I think as well, isn't it?
It's unfortunate that Timo Hayden loses out in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think as well, what probably didn't help is, leading on that, you've got the aero as well. Like, side by side, you get a bit of air disruption going through. Again, it's not too much. These cars, while they do have aero, it's not probably too noticeable. But again, it's still potentially something that could have had an effect, some dirty air turbulence, and it just sort of didn't help the situation. So, yeah, big shame. And it was, unfortunately, Timo Hayden has lost out. He's got 12 minutes left, though. 4.8 seconds, 12 minutes. He knows he's got pace. He was 1.1 seconds a lap quicker than Ibola Laval last time out. And if my maths are correct, that works out to him being able to catch up to him again. So he's probably got a bit of damage, though, so that's got to be taken into consideration. Yeah,
I was about to mention the considerations have got to be if he has damage on the right-hand side of his car, as well as the fact that that slide, all four tyres losing sort of rubber, aren't they? I'm not sure if he's going to have the same amount of pace that he's been shown previously, getting very eager on the throttle out of La Source, attempting to close back down to Ibola Laval. Let's see what this lap time is in relation to third position. Find out if he's going to be in with a chance towards the end of the race. It might be close. We'll have to hope, though, that he's got a chance, because this would be very unfortunate for Timo Hayden to lose out on his chance of fighting for the podium just from that little incident. It was one that Ibola Laval maybe should have realised that his tyres weren't going to be able to have the grip to send that amount of speed into the corner. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? It was the smallest of contacts. You would have thought that both cars would have been able to have gotten away with that door-to-door contact. They were both sort of side to side. It wasn't like one car tapped the rear of the other round or anything like that. It was full on side to side. It was just Timo Hayden unfortunately got unlucky with the iRacing contact and damage model.
Yeah, exactly the thing, isn't it? Like, it was just, it's unfortunate. That could have gone either way. It could have absolutely gone either way, but unfortunately it was, that 50-50. And Timo Hayden did lose out. He's already pulled 0.6 of a second, though, back on Ibola Laval. So this race is definitely not over yet. to see how it really pans out towards these closing stages and who comes out on top in that battle there. Excuse me. Further down the field, everything's again, it's spread out a little bit. So there's a couple of battles, a couple of gaps, I suppose, that we could potentially watch out for again at these closing stages. I don't think we're going to see, though, having kept an eye on sort of the battles. The only main battle I think that probably would be something that we need to keep an eye out from is that one between Laval and Hayden. I think apart from that, everyone just sort of like they're running their own race for the remainder of this. You know, they know that they've got to. They've only got 12 minutes left, or 10 minutes left now, actually, before it's all sort of done and dusted. So I think they all want to get to the end at this point. And to be fair, I don't blame them. They all just want to make sure that they can do what they need to do and just run the laps, come home, take the checkered, and then they can put closure on what's been a fantastic championship. It's been absolutely incredible, and I'm glad to have been a part of it. It's been great. We've got a couple of replays though to look over. Bart Horston, another one, has had a bit of a moment going through into. Oh, you saw the rear end want to rotate, but that's just a little bit of an off track there. And then Justin Young has also had a off track. Where is this going to be? Is this going to be another one that potentially just? Yeah, it was. We've seen that a couple of times, Ed. Could there just be a lapse of concentration from drivers? I can't really see what else it could be.
Could be. Yeah, it could just be the drivers losing a little bit of concentration here or there, and unfortunately, just it's late in the evening for us here in the UK. This is, of course, the international series. Drivers from all across the globe competing in this championship. Something that we also love to see is the international aspect. Drivers from all around fighting with one another and providing us with great entertainment out on track. So this has been very exciting though to see some of these drivers, seeing all these different strategies playing out. It seems to me that the best strategy was, of course, the one implemented by Molnar Peter and Ibo Laval, because it seems that they're going to get themselves a couple of podiums. Not taking tyres, an inspired decision, I feel, and well, we're going to be able to see if that comes to the end, or if suddenly their tyres, I don't know, like blow up at the end. That's, I think, the only thing that can stop them. But I can't imagine that happening. I really can't.
Well, I mean, to be fair, one would hope not.
From the pace they're showing, it'd have to be very dramatic.
It would be indeed a dramatic end to the race. But I mean, yeah, I think, like I was saying before, these guys know what they're doing, don't they? They know they've got pace. They know what they need to do and what works and what doesn't. Yeah, they've done the entire season of this. They've had the entire season to learn, the entire season to really get to grips with what happens with these cars. We are starting to see, though, that Molnar Peter is last up to 203.2. So even then, we're starting to see a drop off, but it's still not really that much. You've got Ibo Laval again, also in the 203s. So now this is where, yeah, these drivers starting to pull that gap up, and they're just starting to drop off a little bit in these closing stages. But I mean, 7 minutes is just not enough, is it? It's not enough for anyone to do anything about that, if I'm perfectly honest. So guys just need to keep hitting their marks, and they're going to be on the way to, especially Molnar Peter, because yeah, like I said, a tactic I initially didn't think would work, but I mean, fair enough, he's definitely proved me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Proved all of us wrong. I was doubting if the tyres were going to work. I was saying, I'd take tyres midway through the race, and I've ended up with egg on my face, haven't I? I immediately realised as soon as the pit stops happened and the margins that we saw and the sort of pace that was still being shown by Molnar means that the tyres were in good enough condition to last until the end. Crispio, we just see him here going through the bus stop chicane. Oh, dearie me, dearie me. Losing out a little bit there. Then gets the car up and moving. But it was a smarter thing just to stay stationary, not move about, making sure his car was predictable and stationary for the cars to move around in good faith in those around him. Meanwhile, this is Daniel Craft, I think, just getting an off track here.
Just an off track going through into that's a tricky one. Like, you almost want to I think as well, going through like last bus stop, going through no name
it's
place
easy,
like that.
Isn't it?
But the thing is, and you got to let it happen. If you start fighting it, that's when it goes wrong. You know, and that's where it goes really, really wrong. So you've just got to let it happen. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, you start to then fight the car. It starts to go all sorts of wrong, yeah, before you know it, also you're going to be are you going to be really on the back foot if something happens? Look at this, Roy Mass and Will Money. The battle is still on. And the battle is still on the cards. Actually, this was
a replay.
This is a replay. Apologies, yes, but let's.
Well, they're getting close. It was getting excited for a moment there. Will Money. Look at this, Roy Mass. They're not giving up right till the end. What is the margin between Hayden and Laval? I think it's 3 seconds. I don't think that's going to be closed up till the end of the race. So unfortunately for Timo Hayden, I can't see him closing that gap down to take third position.
It's 2.1.
Oh, is it 2.1 now, actually? Oh, it might be close, actually. It might be enough for Timo Hayden to get in the mix. Oh, my word. This could actually come to fruition right at the death. This is going to be really exciting to watch. We'll keep our eyes open on the relative for that. Meanwhile, Roy Mass and Will Money getting very close to one another. This is it going down through Blanchimont. Is Will Money going to go defensive? Yes, he is. He's not going to give the inside line to Roy Mass whatsoever. The 107 car looking to try and close in. Gets a very good run, doesn't he, out of the bus stop chicane. Going into La Source. He's going to be forced to go the long way around. Is he going to try and sell the dummy? Is he going to try and go to the inside? No, he's quite content to go around the outside, then get the good run down the hill into Eau Rouge Radio, one of those famous, most iconic corners in all of motorsport. You plunge down at you at the crest and then rising up very sharply. The gradients, if you've ever been to the track in real life, you realise just how steep it is in person. Nothing quite like it at any other racetrack. Provides for great racing, especially when you can see the cars in close proximity, as we've just seen here. Roy Mass now passing Will Money. Will Money seems to be content to allow the positions to change around for the time being, instead putting himself in behind for the final lap of the race. That's where he feels is the best place to be, is right at the end, right behind Roy Mass, and this will be a fight for second place. So is the order on the podium being changed around, not the podium, not the drivers on it, as I think Montez not quite in contention this time around. He's just dropped off pace a little bit here. Having a look at the times being set by Timo Hayden as well compared to Ibola Laval, and it was a full second difference between Ibola Laval and Timo Hayden last time by a 2-minute 3.15 by Ibola Laval, and Timo Hayden setting a 2-minute 2.09. So an entire second being made up here by Timo Hayden. He's going to be within the slipstream here. Look at this, 1.4 seconds the margin on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see there, 1.2 seconds now closing in. He's going to have the slipstream on his side. And, well, I think they're going to be starting the final lap. Is this going to be the final lap of the race, actually? Where is Molnar Peter? Is he coming across the line? Yes, he does. He comes across the line now. I think this is going to be the final lap of the race here, Dan, in a 2-hour finale that has flown by. Going to keep our eyes on that battle between Timo Hayden and Ibola Laval, because that is the one to watch.
It is indeed, absolutely. Can Timo Hayden pull down and pull that second gap down? It's going to be very, very close. But yes, Molnar Peter is on his final lap as he goes down the couple straight for the last time. But yeah, looking at this, Timo Hayden just coming through the last lap. It's going to be close. He has got a toe. It's already down to 0.8 of a second. At this point, Ibola Laval, he needs to hit his marks. Laval just needs to keep hitting his exact marks. Don't change anything. Just run with the tyres of what they've got. You need to use them up. And to be fair, if he saved any part of his tyres left, this is the part where he's going to need to use them. The gap again, look at that, it's coming down. It's now half a second. So really it's going to be, the move is going to be made. And if the move is going to be made, it could potentially be going through Blanchimont down into the last bus stop. So this could be a very, very last minute move for Timo Hayden. He tried it once, it didn't work out. Is he going to try it again? Obviously he didn't quite do it. He's not going to be able to do it in the same place. He's not close enough. But he's very, very close this time around, going through No Name for the last time. Again, just lose a little bit of aero at this point. Okay, if he does lose a little bit of aero, then that's not going to be able to do much. He's looking at that again. You can just see. Actually, as I say that, no. Actually, apologies. So Ibola Laval didn't actually notice, but he'd actually just let him go. So interestingly enough, Ibola Laval didn't even. I don't know if that was an apology if that was an apology let by. But fair enough if he did.
Very sporting driving there from Iwell. I think he realised that the incident was down to him just not having control of the car, not having the grip in his tyres. Meanwhile, though, Molnar Peter rounds the final corner for the final time and takes the checkered flag to win the finale, the final round of the season here at Spa Francorchamps. Great performance from Molnar. He played the strategy to perfection. Great drive from him. Alexander Walton here comes across the line to take second place, not only in the race, but also I believe Alexander Walton finishes second in the championship with that result. And Jacob Money, well, I don't think there's anyone around him to worry about in terms of the end of the race because he finished miles ahead of Molnar Peter. I can't see where Justin Young is. I think they've already finished, actually. So Jacob Money is AM Championship. He could conk out now, and as long as he toes across the line, he'll still make it. So great drive there from Jacob in the Positively Racing machine. He fought hard all season long. There was a little blip at Road Atlanta where we thought maybe he's going to be out of contention, but he fought back with two great results. Race victory at Sebring, race victory at Le Mans, and a race victory at Spa. 3 race victories in the final 3 rounds of the championship. What a performance here by Jacob Money.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You cannot complain with that at all. That's a really, really good performance indeed. And like I said, I've been catching up with Jacob, as and when I'm able to. Just to see him develop throughout this season and to develop as a driver, it's really, really good stuff. It's fantastic, and I'm sure he's going to be taking this as well, actually moving forward and really running with it. So yeah, fair play to Jacob Money. That's absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure he's going to be absolutely delighted with that, and I would not blame him. We're going to bring you your entire results grid in a few moments' time, and then we're going to have a quick chat. Unfortunately, because we're running over a little bit with time, we're only going to have a chance to chat with Mr. Jacob Money himself, and also as well, I believe we're going to chat to, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ed, with EJ Fjordner. Is this all 3 Positively Racing cars coming across the line? It is indeed. Look at that. Flying formation, and they all cross the line. That is Jacob Money in the middle, Will Money on the left-hand side, and Ivo Labsha on the right. So look at that, Jacob Money. You can tell he's excited. He doesn't need to really show it, does he? We don't need to speak to him. You can just tell he's excited.
Yeah, champion Jacob Money. That was hard fought, wasn't it? He did a very good job this evening to take the race victory this evening. Brilliant performance there from all Positively Racing drivers, but especially Jacob Money in what has been a very competitive season. Very hard fought, margins ever so close, thrills and spills, but Jacob Money is the driver coming out on top, and he celebrates in the traditional fashion with a little bit of a donut, try to counteract the control a little bit here. It's a bit of a struggle in these LMP2 cars, but it's just about enough. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice, nice bit of tyre smoke there. The iRacing, they've improved the tyres smoke quite a lot, actually, so you can see these donuts in all their glory, but what a way to round out the evening. Great performance. And we can run you through the finishing order for the final round of the Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship here at Spa Francorchamps. And it was Molnar Peter who took the race victory, 8 seconds in the end to Alexander Walton in second place. Timo Hayden takes a podium place after facing backwards twice. Great fight back, great determination shown by the Impulse Racing driver there to get on the podium. Ivo Lowell comes home in 4th ahead of Bart Horston. Daniel Kraft in 6th and Alvaro Melendez in 7th with Roberto Edouard, Ranso Oval and Burkhard Maring rounding out the top 10. Jose Buisan, Ivo Lobsha, Ramez Azam and Rodrigo Lizowski finishing out the pro standings. And talk us through, Dan, the AM results this evening.
Well, indeed, yeah. Look at that, Jacob Money taking the race win.
If you are there, Dan. If not, I will happily do the honours.
Sorry, I am here. Apologies.
Honours and run us through the AM Championship, not the AM Championship, the AM race results.
Yep, so and race results. Yes, look at that. Jacob Money taking the race win and the championship win. 3 out of 3 for the remaining 3 rounds of this championship. Will Money, his brother, in P2. And the other positively racing car, Alvaro Montes in P3. A great drive there. And a great recovery drive as he moves through the order. Justin Young in P4. Mark Winters in P5. With Roy Mass in P6. Not the race that he wanted, unfortunately. Andy Spicer in P7. EJ Fuellner in P8. Chris Pio in P9, Kamal Hashimi with that unfortunately very early incident in P10 with James Ebron in P11. And yes, there we are. That is your AM results. Ed, I do believe we have Mr. Jacob Money, and also we have as well EJ Fuellner in the interview waiting room. So who would we like to chat with first? Shall we have a chat with Jacob or shall we have a chat with EJ?
Yep. We've brought in Jacob Money into the booth. Jacob, congratulations on your AM Championship. You had a great end to the season. The race victories, Sebring, Le Mans, and this time at Spa as well. What a way to round out the championship fight from you. It was a really commanding drive in the end.
Oh, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, especially considering qualifying didn't quite go your way. What was your emotions like going into sort of the beginning of the race when you realised that qualifying wasn't quite the way you hoped?
Well, I knew a couple of the guys always had quicker quali pace, and I knew my race pace was a little bit stronger, but I felt I got a bit lucky at the start of the race with the incidents which did happen, which unfortunately took James out of the competition. But yeah, I felt a bit lucky at the start, but luckily I was able to keep it all the way through the race.
Well, they do say you make your own luck, and you've certainly been in contention all sort of season long, haven't you? Had a little bit of a blip at Road Atlanta, but you fought back in amazing fashion, didn't you? Race victories, 3 in a row on the bounce to round out the season. What has been your secret just to have this late season dominance?
Fuel save. No, just practice, really. That's literally all it's been. Just hours and hours of practice.
Has that helped with the strategy as well then? Just learning sort of the tyres and the fuel progression?
It has a bit. It's just knowing how much fuel you need to use per lap, and if there is the need to fuel save, how much fuel you do need to save. This has actually been the only race I've properly needed to fuel save a fair bit, and luckily I didn't need to take tyres either, so I was able to keep everything in check for the whole race.
Well, great performance, Jacob. I'm going to hand over to Dan if you have any further questions, Dan.
Do you know what, to be fair, Jacob? Just want to say 2 things. One, well done. That was insane. Great stuff. Really, really excited. Really happy for you. But also as well, you said fuel saving. I'm so glad you said fuel saving. I've been banging on about this the entire season since I've been here. And that's great. No, to be fair, generally well done. Obviously, I know we do catch up, outside this as well. But
yeah,
what's next for you? What is the next step for you? What are you looking to do? Are you looking to continue this with some more of the LMP2 stuff, or are you looking to try something else? What's your next steps?
I have no idea at the moment. I think I'll definitely look to do the next season of this, and then also your season, Dan. Whatever's next from that.
Well, absolutely. There's lots of things on the horizon, but no, great stuff. Honestly, mate, no, very, 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 very impressive. Very well done, and look forward to catching up with you soon.
Cheers.
So that was our AM champion, Jacob Money, joining us in the booth. And, we've got a little bit of time. Let's have a quick word. I feel it'd be a bit rude not to. Let's have a quick word with Alexander Walton. Alexander, talk us through that race. It was a bit of a tricky one with the strategy at the end there.
Hello, yes, it was. In my case, the decision was tires or no tires. I decided to take them. But in hindsight, it wasn't the best decision. So congratulations to Mona. He was fastest and also made the right choices.
Absolutely. Well, just talk us through your season as well, because I think that result cements you as second place in the championship overall.
Yeah, it should be. I'm pretty proud of that result. Very strong drivers. Also taking Maxime out of it. He's on another level, but yeah, it was difficult, and I'm very proud of it.
Just talk us through your season in general, because there were a few ups and downs, most notably when you had a bit of an incident at Road Atlanta, but you bounced back very well in Sebring to take your race victory. Just what has this season been like for you on the whole?
Yeah, in some races, especially at the beginning of the season, I didn't drive to my full potential, I think. But still, I got decent results, and yeah, Zapping was of course nice with the help of my teammates taking the win there. That was the highlight for me, of course. And yeah, I'm pretty happy overall.
Well, as we are coming into, as we are now at the end of the season, the floor is yours, Alexander. If you have any people you would like to shout out here on the broadcast.
Yes, to Maxime for the championship win, of course. And to my teammates, Burkhard, Gustas, Rames, and Roberto. It was a lot of fun to drive with you, and yeah. And let's not forget the broadcast crew and to the organizers for making a great event.
Well, thank you very much, Alexander. We'll hope to see you in any future seasons that come for this Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship.
Sure, see you.
So that was Alexander Walton, and you know what? Let us bring in the man that's made this all possible this season, possible all the time long. EJ, welcome to the Comms Box. This has been a brilliant season to be a part of. Just talk us through how it's been like in the background.
Hey guys, such an incredible season. I'm just so thankful for everybody that's involved. You know, it's a team. We have our team, as you guys know from before the first race when we talked, the last time we spoke on air, we had no idea what we were getting into. We just wanted to have fun racing with our friends, and it turned out to be a pretty spectacular pro and amateur competition. You know, what a great race even today. Lots of guys showing up, lots of guys on the grid when they didn't really have to, because the pro ranks was pretty much decided. Well, at least the winner with Maxime, but it's just, we're so happy that this thing went off as well as it did. And, you know, special thanks to you guys. You rolled with some of our issues that we had scheduling wise and things like that. And it makes all the difference having professional broadcasters in the booth for all the rounds. That's, you know, unanimously, every comment I get about the broadcast is how great you guys do. So I'm really thankful you guys are involved. We haven't announced anything for season 2 yet, but you know, we have a provisional schedule. We're going to get that in front of you guys, make sure that we can make that work, and then hopefully we're going to be back on track here shortly. And you know, the LMP2 is an amazing car. Oh, of course, you guys show me spinning during the interview, but the LMP2 is an amazing car. iRacing is a great platform to really show it off. I mean, everybody took this so seriously. You know, you heard Jacob, the amateur champion, talking about how much he practiced. I know all the pros practice hours and hours for our series, which is just amazing to me. So it's, you know, just great job all around by everybody. We're just so thankful. Our sponsors stepped up and really helped us out. My partner, Ryan Donaher, behind the scenes, he's been fantastic. Our whole team, you know, just everybody. We're just so thankful that we could assemble this thing and make it go off the way it did.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on something I want to bring up. It's just the sheer amount of sponsors we've had this season. It's been great to see the support, not just in the race community, but from outside as well. Obviously, we've had at the beginning of the season CPI Cinema, then we had Meridian Audio, Surgex, Display Technologies, AOS Racing Simulators. So many people coming on board for this championship. Does that fill you with a bit of excitement for things to come?
It definitely does. You know, there's no secret that Ryan, our partner and team owner, you know, his business has relationships with those companies, but they all stepped up and they helped us make this thing a reality. And it was so fantastic. And guys, I'll be honest, I never in a million years would have thought I'd be on track with all these guys that are racing in this championship. I don't even deserve to be out there. You know, I'm sure when they go by me, they're saying, who is this Yahoo in the back of their minds? But it's just so amazing to see all these drivers out on track in this fantastic car on all these great circuits. So it's just been so fun to do it. And again, we're just thankful you guys came on board. All of our sponsors helped us. It's just a great effort.
No worries. It's been great to be a part of it, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully being in the booth for the next season when that comes to fruition. But thank you very much, EJ, for jumping into the Comms Box with us. And well, the floor is yours if there's anyone you would like to shout out on the broadcast.
Yeah, so again, thanks Ryan, my business partner, most importantly. He's behind the scenes. He didn't drive as many races. He was kind of admin for the series, making sure that things were happening behind the scenes. Our sponsors have been fantastic. Surgex stepped up, sponsored a couple races. You mentioned the other sponsors that we have. But honestly, I'm most thankful for the guys that showed up every race. And, honestly, most practices you guys don't know about. We'd have 20 or 30 cars, and it's been amazing. We were an unknown entity. There are lots of other series that these pro teams can choose to run throughout the year, and to have them racing with us, it's just been a phenomenal experience. And hopefully it's going to get bigger and better with more teams even next year. So who knows? But again, thank you guys. Thanks to everybody for coming. We really, really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to next season.
Absolutely. Well, the future certainly looks bright, EJ, and we'll be keeping our eyes open for it and hoping to see the Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship make its return here on Sim Races World TV. Thank you very much.
Thanks again, guys.
So that was EJ Fjellner, series organizer and, of course, driver in this championship. And I said we weren't going to have too much time left due to the later start, but I feel it free of rude not to have a word with our race winner, Molnar Peter, taking his first race of the season at the final round. Congratulations, Molnar.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Hello. That was a very inspired decision there at the end. The strategy really paid dividends there, not taking tyres. Was that always the plan, or was that something you just saw at the second stop and you thought, right, tyres are good, let's take it to the end?
First, when we loaded into the session, we saw that the sun multiplier wasn't 4x, because that was the plan from the admins. But something went wrong, but it was fine. The track was the same for everyone. But yeah, that was the plan, to not change tires. But with the 4x sun multiplier, it was going to be colder. But like this, my plan was, if the tires are above 70% after the second stint, I will keep them on, and they were 71, so I kept them on.
So it's just borderline, but it was a strategy that really worked out for you. And just talk us through your sort of emotions, I guess, coming to the end when you could see the race victory was in sight, but you had a lot of pressure coming from behind for a very quick Alexander Walton.
Yes, he was very quick, but I think I was able to manage the gap. At the last stint, I don't know if you were on board with me for some time, but I was lifting very big before the bus stop, just to make sure it goes only 57 laps. So I was always monitoring the gap and my overlay to see the gap behind and the laps, how many laps the race will go. So yeah, it was under control, I think.
Definitely. Well, it was very exciting to watch your race unfold. And we obviously, unfortunately, don't have too much time, but we wanted to give you your time in the spotlight. Anyway, Molnar, and the floor is yours if you have anyone you would like to shout out here on Sim Races World TV.
I think I want to thank the admins for the great league, and hopefully there is a season 2, and for sure you will see me here again. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to that, Molnar. Thanks again for joining in the comments box, and congratulations on your race victory. So, Dan, that was everyone that we've had time to have a word with this evening. And I think now it's time to round out what has been a brilliant season here for the Apex Technologies LMP2 Championship. I think we've had something like 65 different drivers all taking to the grid at one stage or another in this championship, which just shows the sheer quantity of drivers that have been involved in this series. But also, we've had great racing. The sheer quality has been something amazing to behold as well.
100%. It's just been great all around. I mean, like I said, I came in halfway through the series, and I'm honestly so glad I was given the opportunity to. It was fantastic. I love the LMP2 car. It's one of my favourite cars to drive in the sim. And to actually be a commentator on an LMP2 only series is something that I couldn't really have asked more of. So it's been absolutely fantastic. The racing's been so clean. The racing's been so close. It's been just relentless as well for every single round. It's just start to finish. There's always been something going on, it's just been fantastic. And yeah, I mean, I hope that I get an opportunity to continue with the second series, because I mean, I just want it to get underway now. I want it to start now, to be fair.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to be able to keep our eyes open for that and really look forward to the next season. But I think that is all the time we have, Dan. So unfortunately, it's time for us to say goodbye.
It is indeed. It is indeed. It's time for us to say goodbye. Absolutely. Well, I just want to say again, from myself, from Ed, all of us at Sim Racers World, thank you to everyone who has been a part of this series, everyone that's been commentating and getting involved with the stream. It's been fantastic. Really hope you enjoyed yourself as much as we enjoyed commentating and hosting it. But as I said, we have to wrap up. Do everyone make sure you take care and stay safe, and we will hopefully see you very, very soon for what is potentially another season of the LMP2 Championship, sponsored by Apex Technologies. But until next time, take care.